We're good?
I know it's gonna work until it actually works.
It does work. We're on? Okay.
Yeah, like 5, 4,
This is like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to get started. You know, 5, 4, 3, 2.
2, 1. Should be live.
We're live. So, welcome to our meeting. Thank you all for coming. This is a workshop meeting, so we're trying to be as informal as we can. I'll manage folks raising their hands, so if you'll just bear with me, I'll try to write down names of people that are raising their hands. Joe will and Don will always help me do that, but we do have a bigger crowd than usual for a workshop. So we're here to talk about the reason why we're here is at the last meeting, the board had received a letter from about 20 merchants, business owners, requesting us to review street fair policies. On our agenda was the street fair dates. So we said, let's, you guys meet and come to us and let us know what's going on. And we have the street fair dates on our agenda again for tonight. So we just wanted to hear from everybody as any way you want to do it. Roger, Tristan, Jack, whoever wants to speak about it, please do. But let's just have a good discussion, and then we'll move forward from there.
It's okay.
Laura?
I'd like to start.
Sure.
My name is Laura Neal. My name is Laura Neal. Do I space you guys?
Yes.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah.
I own Long Path Outfitters. I've owned it for a couple years down on South Broadway. I was the one who actually pressed send on the letter, but it was after conversations with a lot of merchants, a lot on South Broadway, but then others as well. We were getting a feeling that the street fairs were happening to us and not with us. So we kind of really wanted to find a way for the businesses to feel more a part of it and see how we could kind of all benefit from it. The way I kind of put it is we're all Team Nyack, so we wanted to find a way for it to work better for all of us. So we did have a really good meeting last week with Akeda, Visit Nyack, and the Chamber. And it was great. We had a really good talk about the history of the street fairs. And we felt that we came up with a number of ways for the businesses to really feel more a part of it. And part of it is for them, which they also agreed with, and I'll also let them speak for what they said about holding their promoters accountable and really making sure that the promoters are following the rules, keeping things safe, keeping things so booths don't block different other businesses as much as they do now. We felt at the end of the meeting, we would be fine to keep the 5 street fairs as they proposed, with the understanding that 2024 is a way to make sure everyone can be held accountable, of making sure people are kind of following either what they say in the contracts with the promoters and also other ways to engage businesses. We also talked about, we think it's important to lower the price of entry for businesses to have booths. A lot of us have one employee, some, just the owner, and to hire someone to work a booth outside and set it up. And also we all often hire extra people for during the day because we want to be cognizant of, sticky fingers a lot, so that's kind of how we feel like the kind of cost of entry of being involved should be less than it is now for each street fair. So I guess that's
Thank you. Thank you. Others?
You mind if I try something with the podium? Sort of spin it around just so I'm speaking to everybody.
No, go ahead.
Does that work?
Yes.
Thanks. I need something to lean on. All right, so this is a lot. Very lot. First off, I think I'm at the wrong meeting, because I was here because we were just talking about how great the Halloween parade was. So, no, but, thank you again to the village for the support that you guys showed for the Halloween parade. But more than anything, thank you to everybody who came tonight. You know, we're a business community, and it's great to talk about these things. So thank you to Laura. I think, I want to follow up with that and just say that, the meeting that we had last Wednesday was very productive. And I think at the end of the day, any kind of a letter like that is sort of indicative of, maybe a lack of communication and maybe a feeling of not being heard. And that's something that, from the perspective of the Chamber of Commerce and ICADA, as the organizers of the street fairs, we need to be conscious of. And we're remedying that and taking steps presently, and in the future to make sure that all parties are heard in this thing. Again, my name is Tristan Dunnigan. My family has Pickwick Bookshop. I am a volunteer for the Arts, Crafts, and Antiques Dealers Association. Have been for most of my life, kind of born into it, didn't really have much of a choice. This is my first year as one of the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce. So I just wanted to sort of talk about the conversation that we had, the conversations that we've had with different businesses throughout the community, with the businesses that's co-signed the letter as well. And I also just wanted to sort of talk about, from an organizational standpoint, the benefits of the street fairs. Again, so just to touch on the conversation from last week with some of the folks who co-signed the letter, and a couple other people who didn't co-sign the letter came along too, and that was great. It was a 2.5 hour long meeting. It was great. A lot was covered, and we're still working through some things. It wasn't an end all be all. The conversation will continue, and that's a great thing. From an organizational standpoint for the street fairs, I just want to lay out some of the benefits that they provide, historically and presently, short term and long term. And before I say that, we recognize that the street fairs don't work for everybody. And our goal is to make sure that we do as much as possible to make them work for everybody in the business community. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Benefits, thank you. So we have 5 street fairs. 3 of them are ICADA, 2 of them are the Chamber of Commerce, put on by the Arts, Crafts, and Antiques Dealers Association. 2 of them are put on by the Chamber of Commerce. For the Chamber of Commerce, and I'll let sort of Roger speak to more of the benefits for that. It goes the money that is towards the overhead costs and the costs of the next fair. It goes towards the Chamber of Commerce's budget. For the Arts, Crafts, and Antiques Dealers Association, the money that isn't put towards the overhead costs of that current fair and the next fair, that money goes to Visit Nyack. And I'll let Mr. Schneck sort of touch on what Visit Nyack does more on a tourism level. On the short-term benefits side of things, we bring in, on a beautiful day, 10 to 20,000 people on Street Fair Day. We feel that it is a great opportunity for businesses to both market themselves and to sell their wares. It's, again, there are certain aspects of the day of the fair which we have to work through with our promoters. And we've been keeping our promoters, both PJ's Pros and Woodwill, in sort of the loop this entire time. And we will be further discussing things that need to change day of to make sure that it benefits as many vendors, or local vendors as possible. Along with promoting our local businesses, we also we give away booths or 10 by 10 areas to local not-for-profits as well. That includes Soup Angels, which Ms. Lorenzine, I know you've dedicated a lot of your life towards. And I've dedicated some hours to it. And I've met some people that are on teams currently that travel from New Jersey and to dedicate their time, volunteer their hours at Soup Angels. And they found out about Soup Angels from an Ag Street Fair. It both serves as a recruiting tool and a fundraising tool for Soup Angels. And it's not just Soup Angels, it's Center for Safety and Change, American Legion, VFW, Rotary Club, clubs and sports teams from Nye Public Schools, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, religious organizations like the Seventh-day Adventists and the YMCA as well. And that's a non-exhaustive list. Pride has also had booths in the past. And those are booths that are given for free. We don't charge for those. And that gives exposure and again, fundraising tools for these not-for-profits locally. Yeah, there's a lot I could touch on, I think, but for the sake of all of our time, I just want to say that, again, we are doing as much as we can to make this work for everybody. And the benefits, 100% of the proceeds of the funds of the street fairs are reinvested into our village. And when we're talking about our local economy as a whole, I think business in general, I think most of us can say in this building or in this room that business is very slow. And to sort of undercut that, the tourism aspects and the money that is spent on street fair days, I think that is, it could be very detrimental. And I'm not saying that that's, obviously Laura, as she said earlier, that, we're sort of moving forward with 5 days. But I just want to say that the potential for even cutting 1 day or 3 days, it could have drastic effects on our local economy. Yeah. So with that, I will yield to Mr. Cohen. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate everybody coming out here. Whilst I had to do something.
You're good, you're good.
Let me show.
Hello, good evening. I'm Roger Cohen, and I'm president of the Chamber of Commerce of the NIACS, known as the Nye Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for everyone for coming, and thank you for the board for giving us the opportunity. And before I start, I want to say thank you to the board and the village for the outstanding commitment and support for the Halloween parade this year. It went extraordinarily well, and we appreciate the support.
Well, congratulations to you too, Roger.
Yes,
It was a
a lot of hard work.
wonderful event.
Yeah, I think it was the best parade in.
Yeah, because
Many
my grandson,
Okay.
so it was absolutely the best.
So that's great. And that's one of the examples of what the Chamber of Commerce does with funds that come from street fairs. There are approximately 10 to 12 different events that we put on during the year, from smaller ones like the Christmas tree and the car show and get-togethers and those kinds of things. And that costs a lot of money. And we're lucky that we have the funding to do it. And much of it comes from the street fair income. We were fortunate to have the meeting with Laura and the colleagues last week. It indicated to us that there's a problem with communications between the chamber and Takeda and the merchants and the restaurants. And we have to change that, and we're committed to changing that. We're committed to opening a dialogue. We're committed to making an opportunity for us to meet regularly to discuss these things. We have a plan for that, and I think Mr. Schneck, you're going to address that a little bit later. One of the problems that this has created is instability in the business district, and that's bad for business. What we need is stability. We need to be united. We need to have a good face for marketing and sales in the village, and we're committed to increasing that and making things more stable and making us get along better and hearing what the merchants have to say. I have to admit that I haven't been able to spend as much time as I would like to with the merchants. Had some problems with my family this year and it took up a lot of time. But I'm moving forward from that and will continue to increase my my personal involvement with the merchants and the restaurants. We also plan to put on some seminars. We have an advertising company that we work with, Peter Saluk Advertising, who will be happy to talk about marketing and other opportunities that merchants and restaurants can do during street fairs and to make it better and more profitable and more enjoyable as well. We would like everyone to be part of the conversation, and we'd like everybody to feel that they have some kind of input and influence on the opportunities. We're committed to doing that, and we're looking forward to doing that. That's what I have to say for this evening.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you, Board of Trustees. Thank you for all being here. My name is Thomas Schneck. I'm the president of Visit Nyack. And I was fortunate enough to be part of the conversations we had in the last 2 weeks, I guess, about this topic of street fairs. It's not a new topic, so I think this has been flaring up for a while. And in that sense, it's good that Laura brought it to the table again. So hopefully we can find a constructive way forward. I just want to talk a little bit about the bigger picture of tourism, as this is really the task and the mission of Visit Nyack. One thing we have to be aware of, that tourism is the main economic factor for Nyack businesses. If it would not be for tourism, a lot of our businesses would be really challenged here. And so, you know, bringing people into the village is always the focus of Visit Nyack. And I think you get, many of you get my presentations every month. We see all these different activities we're doing. A lot actually of our work we're doing, and I'm going to get back to that quickly, what Roger and Kristen said, is actually funded through the sources, the financial sources we get from those two organizations coming out of the street fair. So it's really very important that we have that, because there is no other funding Visit Nyack has. We are a volunteer organization. But coming back to tourism, you know, like already mentioned, we get about 15,000 people every street fair into this village, which is an amazing feat. And to accomplish that through the promoters, through the work of Arcata, and through the chamber is quite an accomplishment. As you might know, we just got a award, Visit Nyack, as a excellence award from the the New York Tourism Association. And so I was up in Rochester taking in this recipient, and I talked to a lot of other villages and other townships, and we talked about Nyack. And many times the first thing they said, "Are you the guys with the street fair?" So it's part of the DNA of our town, which has been over the last 50 years been created. And then when you talk about getting 15,000 people every event, they look at me like, "How do you guys do that? You know, we're struggling to getting 500, 1,000, 2,000 people into our village, and you accomplish that you get 15,000 a day, basically 5 times a year into our village." So what I'm just trying to say here with that, we have these street fairs, which have been going on for 50 years now, a tremendous asset of our village. Now, is everything we're doing with the street fairs perfect and what the promoters are doing? Absolutely not. Does it need work? Absolutely, it does. But I just want to say that we should be very careful if we make any changes, that we don't really, you know, damage the brand Nyack has, damage the economics in general of the street fair, but also make at the same time sure that all the businesses which we have here in Nyack can benefit from it. And this was really great from Laura's initiative. And she said it again at the beginning of this meeting, say, this is not something which should happen to the Nyack businesses. This has to happen with the Nyack businesses. And we said I think Wednesday it was a good week ago, we said those 5 days of the street fairs we have here, they should be the 5 best days for the local businesses here in Nyack. This should be our calling card. This should be our way forward. This should be our goal. And this is what we should be fighting for. Because again, It's a tremendous asset, and we just have to morph it into something which is really valuable to everybody here in the room. And I just want to say from a Visit standpoint, as you know, we have monthly board meetings, and I would like to volunteer these board meetings and then invite everybody, especially in the business community, that we use these monthly board meetings to evolve the street fair concept into something which really works for everybody here in the business community. And this is just on my side what I would like to contribute. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I'm going to allow the board to speak if that's okay, unless someone is really itching to stand up and say something. I for one am really pleased with the way the meetings went on Wednesday. That was the hope and desire of our entire board, was that it would be a great meeting and that you would all come together, because I almost felt like, and I had whispered to Joe during the meeting, this is almost like we're having a chamber meeting when we were having the last village board meeting. And it really is important that our business community can, to the extent possible, come together and then come to us and ask for support to make things happen that you all want to happen. That's what I want our role to be as the village government. So I'm really excited. Tristan, Roger, Tomas, thank you and Laura, thank you for what you said tonight. It encourages me that we have a way forward. These discussions have been going on for a long time. And this is the first time really that I think I feel anyway, that we have a discussion that we can work through. So thank you very much for your attitudes and the efforts that you've made to get us to where we are. I don't know if anybody else has any comments. We are going to be moving into another meeting. We're jam-packed tonight, but we'll go as long as we need to go with this.
May I ask a question?
Please.
Actually, someone raise their hand. Could I just 1 second before you come up?
Elaine, just 1 second.
Thank you. I am also, to echo the mayor's statements, I am happy that there is continuing conversations about how to make these street fairs better, how to make sure that the businesses are feeling supported and heard. I think that's definitely key to the village. I did have a question, because I know one of the points that was raised, and Tristan, I didn't get a chance to ask you earlier, was about where the placement of vendors are versus where the businesses are to help sort of promote businesses. Could you just, could you elaborate a little bit more on that, how those discussions went? I was just curious.
Yeah, you mind if I?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So we agree that, and have been in agreement that there shouldn't be competing businesses in front of brick and mortar businesses. We've mentioned it to our promoters in the past, and now we're gonna hold their feet to the fire.
Okay.
How we're gonna go about that, I personally plan on sitting down with PJs from an Acada standpoint, and we'll sit down with Woodville, and there's gonna be, I think we need to tweak the vetting process for outside vendors. I also want to say that there are a lot of local vendors that are part of
Yes.
the street fairs.
Yep.
Niagara's, West Niagara's, but outside vendors, there needs to be more of a vetting process and having a certain standard for outside vendors that are gonna be allowed into our street fairs. But we need to do a better job of mapping, placement, and just making sure that, we don't have these competing businesses. They're ridiculous, and I wouldn't feel good about that if there was books, somebody selling books in front of Pickwick. It's completely understandable and valid point. So.
And
Thank you.
even just as a follow-up to that, I know there was also a question in terms of cost for brick and mortar Nyack businesses versus everyone else. Was that also something you guys discussed as well, or is that more of a longer?
So that's certainly a longer term sort of thing that we need to work through, that we need to sit down. It's not something that 2 weeks we'll be able to sit down and go through the mathematics of it. That said, members of Acada and members of the chamber do get price breaks on these fairs as a tool to sort of help boost our numbers as well and get people involved in Acada or the chamber. It's sort of an incentive as well. But from another standpoint of further lowering costs, it's something that we do need to sit down, because at the end of the day, this thing is going to affect budgets, and street fair costs the Cata Street Fair costs actually went down a little over 10 years ago, and they haven't changed. They haven't gone up. I believe the same for the chamber. So we haven't risen costs for these things in a time frame where costs for everything have exponentially risen, including manpower. You know, so it's something that we need to work through. And again, it's, you know, that's part of the ongoing communication process, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Elaine, did you want to say something? You don't have to come up here if you don't want to. I mean, you can. You're welcome to, but you don't have
As
to.
long as we can hear you.
Anyway, I just wanna say one thing. I'm in NIAC for 13 years, 14 years, and I always did very well with the street fair. Sometimes we did shitty business, but guess what? Got nothing to do with the street fair, got to do with the weather, like we had, one street fair was raining. And even if we went on the street fair, or it doesn't rain on the street fair, when it went on the street fair, we do shitty business in NIAC. But in general, we do very good. I have customers who come week after the street fair and say, oh, I was at the street fair. I saw your restaurant, I came back and I eat. It is a good thing for us. I don't think we should eliminate the street fair. I think we should continue the street fair. The street fair is good for the whole village. We do very well. And don't get me wrong, when I had my little place in NIAC, I didn't do that well, the street fair, because my place was too small, one corner, one place. But it's only 5 days a year. If you cannot survive 5 days a year without doing any business, don't be in the business. Open something else, open whatever. But I always say the village has the right to do whatever they want to do. And we supposed to support them. We support the village because they support us all year long. And the street fair always good to us.
Yeah, I just to make sure that we're clear, the letter was not just about street fairs, it was about street closures, I believe, but anyway.
But
Maria?
it's not how many street closures we have.
I'd like to clarify one thing. Just let me clarify something. And I appreciate your commentary. We don't have an opinion that says if a business can't make money on 5 days, that they shouldn't be in business.
Sure.
We have a feeling right now that they should be, and we want to help them do better.
Fair enough. Thank you. Maria?
Hi, I'm Maria Whittingham, and I'm out of business in NIAC. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, yes.
For 36 years, and I am members of both organizations, and I do participate in the street fairs because it'd be like cutting my nose to spite my face not to participate, basically, right? To have somebody in front of us. That being said, I've never been against street fairs. I've been conflicted about the quality of the vendors at the street fair. And I think that getting in 100 to 200 people is awesome, particularly if the vendors and visitors align with the businesses that are already there on the street. So just to clarify, I don't think it should go away, but I also think it's really unfair to say that if you don't do well at street fair, you should not have.
No, but I'm not saying that.
Well, we don't,
I gotta clarify one thing. You know what, the street fair people, whoever vendor is, they have the right to do whatever they wanna do. If they wanna present a jewelry or whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. I always say, everybody has the right to present their food.
That's fair enterprise.
Me, I'm a French restaurant, I
Yeah.
present French food.
Uh-huh.
Do you think I worry about the Mexican guy or the Turkish guy? No, I don't. Or the Greek, I don't.
I think most of the.
I think in general, we have to accept the fact of these people come to the street fair,
Yeah.
do their business, and it's only 5 days a year. It is not, for me, it's not what they bring, it's the people who come and visit.
Which
Got
can they continue?
Absolutely.
So most of the businesses, I think, that have some issue, some type of issue, are not restaurants.
No, I mean.
Okay, let's not get in it. Whoa, hold it. Let's have one person speak at a time, please.
Thank you. So that being said, and sorry, to sort of threw me off my thought. But yes, basically, it isn't the street fair. I've never been opposed to how many times the streets are closed. But I am opposed when it happens without any notification, without any guidance, without any ability to allow us to plan, to have a voice, to have some information, and to get specifically to the street fairs. I think that's a conversation that has casually happened for many years, and it's just that. It's just the type of the merchandise, it's a level that doesn't align with the businesses. So we do get a lot of people, but not necessarily aligned with what's there. Yes, you're gonna have a drink, you're gonna eat, you're gonna pick up something. Sometimes you pay for it, sometimes you don't, when it comes to a street fair, because of the crowds, and we have to have, as Laura said, many more hands to deal with it, including outdoors. So I'm sort of in the middle saying that we do, and absolutely believe that these conversations that you guys are having are great because they're listening, right? You're listening to each other. But I will say to anyone should sell what they can, and that is, that's free enterprise is what the right of everyone. But if we're doing these events to benefit the community, the business community, then we want to have a hand at how that is handled. And whether it's, and I think that whether it's an outsider or a street fair local vendor, it still should not interfere with the ones that are in the brick and mortar, paying the rent, etc. So I'm really glad we're having this conversation.
And I think you're hearing a real willingness to listen to each other, and that's exactly what I think everybody wants, is to work through this. And we're gonna have to close the meeting in a minute, but go ahead, please.
Part of this is about street fairs, part of this is about overhead as far as cost effectiveness for the businesses here. I'm Kim O'Leary, I'm owner of Crystal Gum Shop around the rocks. I have a question. Part of the agenda is street closures. You are opposed to street closures, not opposed,
No,
patient to it. However, how is it that we find out at the last minute that Sobro, the Spirit of Nyack, the pumpkin stuff, those street closures are okay? But they aren't. You're closing down the streets just for your section of Nyack. We're a community. Why not communicate that same event that you're creating to the rest of us? So why is it just your section, but the roads are allowed to be closed? The town loses parking money. They help finance this. Am I wrong? It looks hypocritical to me.
Well, the pumpkin,
Hold on.
this is not the place for this discussion to happen. That's the place for it to happen when you're talking about how to make this work for the community.
absolutely.
We're gonna have, I'm just gonna go back to the board to have any conversation they want, and then we're gonna close the meeting if everyone's okay with that. I'm gonna have the board say something first, then I'll come back to you. All right, go ahead. He says, go ahead. He wants the last word.
We should increase the street fairs. We have a more. It helps. Thousands of people that come down, they're happy. And that's what I have to say. Not decrease, increase.
Thank you. Okay. Folks, again, this is a discussion that you guys have to have and then come to us and ask us to support you in. So I appreciate all the comments you're making, but this is really for a conversation for you all to have together, Joe. So.
Yeah, I think it's a good conversation to have. I don't think it was ever a consideration to cut the number of street fairs. I mean, we had long discussions on the street fairs 2 years ago about trying to compensate the village for the use of the the streets. We never talked about cutting the number of street fairs. I think the street fairs are really terrific for the community and terrific for the businesses, and they could be better, as we've discussed. And I am delighted, Roger, I'm delighted. You were here at the last meeting. You said the last fair had what, 320? How many booths was there at the last one?
About that.
about 320, which I was very happy to hear, because the last time you and I talked about street fairs, you showed us financials that showed that the street fairs might lose tons of money because you didn't think any of the vendors would come back after COVID. So I'm glad that didn't happen, that everybody did come back and that they've been successful. I do have one concern, and it was something raised, it was raised by Laura in a comment, it was then brought up by Pascal, is that I'm a little troubled about charging businesses for the space in front of the business that they pay taxes on, they pay rent on. That's their space, and I'm not as comfortable. I understand there's some discounts from members of the CADA or members of the chamber, but I feel as if I'm running a business and there's a street fair, that as long as I'm willing to expand out into the street and participate in the street fair, that I shouldn't have to pay anything more than a nominal setup fee to do that. And I know Tristan expressed that it has to get factored in this budgeting that you've already started to prepare for next year. And I would think about that, but I would start thinking about that now, because, you know, if you haven't raised the cost of booths for 10 years, then perhaps you have room to raise the cost of booths and waive the cost for existing businesses, at least most of the cost. You know, when we put in the $5 surcharge per booth, we exempted nonprofits and we exempted existing businesses that don't have to pay that surcharge, the $5, because we said the existing businesses shouldn't have to pay. They've already got, I mean, the $5 surcharge is supposed to be a reduction from the $20 hawker or peddler license, whatever it is. And you're already paying taxes if you're a business here in Nyack. So I would talk about that sooner than later, because I think it's an important part of this, that it is a little bit odd that the chamber's business model of how it raises money is always seems to be about bringing outside businesses into Nyack, rather than promoting the businesses that are here. And the street fairs bring outside businesses in. The Christmas, the holiday crafts fair brings outside businesses in. Even the farmers market, which is wonderful. I love the farmers market. It brings outside businesses in. I'd like to see some recognition that the businesses that are here, at least should not have to pay the way that a business coming from New Jersey or upstate New York or whatever has to pay. And that'd be my suggestion as you work through some of these issues.
But the Chamber of Commerce, we, as a member of Chamber of Commerce,
I've been a member of the Chamber of Commerce in here for 20 years.
what we pay? We pay almost nothing. We pay less
Listen,
than.
Then if you don't pay anything, then my point is.
No, I'm not saying we pay anything, but we pay less than a normal vendor.
fair enough. But
Okay.
Which is,
these are discussions that really need to happen within the context of your discussions. You don't want us, I don't think you want us telling you what to do about these.
Say something real quick, Joe. I get what you're saying, but that's virtually every single space in town. So if you're not charging the businesses.
Not every business is open. Not every business is open, and not every, first of all, not every business is open, and there's lots of spaces in town which don't have businesses in front of it. And listen,
You might have 100 vendors, not anywhere.
well, I mean,
Well, can I cut us off right here and just say, Joe can come to the next meeting and you can have this discussion in a broader context where you don't have a time bumping up against you, because we do. We're already 10 minutes over. We have a parking authority meeting after this. I hate to do that, but as Joe Carlin said the last time, we can't decide all these things in 2 weeks. It has to have a process to go through it. So all of the issues that have been brought up, I'm sure that they will continue. I really am thankful for the attitudes of everyone, that we're gonna work through these things and get some solutions. All right, so I'm gonna, with everyone's agreement or not agreement, I'm gonna end our meeting there. If there's a feeling, Roger, Tristan, Tomas, other folks, if there's a feeling that we need to have another workshop at the village level, we will be happy to schedule it for you. If there's not needed, then, and you'll just come back to us and keep us updated about what's going on.
should we give a minute for the street fair people?
Okay. Well, we're not even at the 8th. Yeah, so folks, if you don't want to stay for the board meeting, you're welcome to leave, because we've got folks on the outside that are coming in. Bye-bye. See you soon. Keep that chicken salad coming. Just to expedite our process here, while folks are coming in and out, if you're here for the parking authority meeting, if you would make your way up, because we're gonna start that right now. And we have two major things that we need to talk about in the parking authority meeting. One is our financials, and the second is one resolution on the parking in front of the Fresh Market. So, we're gonna start our parking authority meeting. Jen.
So you guys have the financials in front of you. I will say overall, the parking authority is in really good condition. Probably the best condition they've been in 10 years, which is super awesome. Some of the quick items to note on the financials that stand out to me is the park mobile revenue from the prior year. And that was due to a reconciliation issue between the credit card company and the meter company. That revenue has come in now, but it was recorded as journal entry at the end of the year. So you just don't see it in. So, last year's park mobile revenue was 348,000, just so you know. So the 300,000 budgeted is a good number. And then the other one that kind of stands out to me is the parking lease payment. And I just haven't transferred the funds yet. They actually have the money for the entire year right now that I could transfer. I just haven't done it. So they're in really good shape.
Okay, great. Thank you. As the parking authority, are there any questions of Jen? I'm sorry, I don't mean to push us too fast. Thank you, Jen. Thank you very much. So we do have a resolution before us as the parking authority to what's the right word? We're finalizing the agreement for the 1 hour parking in front of in the River Space parking lot. That was we did that twice under the parking authority rules, that we could do it for 3 or 4 months at a time. We're now at the time where we either need to say, go with it as a permanent change or take it back. So let's get the motion let's get the motion on the floor with the motion second. And then is there any discussion about that?
Yeah, I just have a question. We did it for the benefit of the new tenant and also offering it for people who just wanted to park for an hour. What are we finding right now? How beneficial is this? Are we in a position to make it a firm occasion, or are we looking at another?
From what perspective? We were concerned about it from a loss of revenue when it was the entire parking lot. That has not been a concern. You heard the financials are up. So what I'm not sure.
I think I know what Maria's, because I remember.
I'm sorry.
I remember what you were saying. You saw when this first came up, we saw the financials of Fresh Market.
Right.
I know the last meeting when we discussed it again, we didn't have financials. I'm assuming you want to see that again, Marie? Do I have that right?
You're right.
Yeah.
We don't have it. So you don't want to vote on this to finalize it, or do we want to?
My question is, it's to me, we were doing it to affect a benefit to whatever.
I have to tell you that he's not come in and said to us that his business is failing anymore.
If that's what it is, let's vote on it, all right? I just wanted to secure.
And I
the
actually
fact
think
that
it's been helpful to other businesses in that area.
It has, okay, as long as the other, okay. I don't have a problem. Yeah.
And it can't be.
I'm really happy to see that, Jenny.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We good for adjourning?
Just to remind, it's a double resolution, so the parking authority is setting the policy.
And then we have to do.
And then the board of trustees is making it.
Right.
permanent.
Yeah, that's in the new business
Right.
section.
Can you just approve the minutes?
Oh, approve the minutes, sorry.
Motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Need a second?
Last 2 meetings.
Last
Last
two
two
meetings
meetings.
of the parking authority.
Second.
Any questions, comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Can we now adjourn this meeting?
Motion adjourned.
Joe is the
Second.
motion to adjourn, second from Marie, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you for being for 2 minutes over, sorry. Would you please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have one of my favorite people of all time here to do a presentation for us. So Dr. Pratt. You're on.
I'm here on behalf of Marie Florence Lee.
That's the story.
I've known Marie was not able to attend the pastor's appreciation in my charitable fundraiser. And I wasn't able to give her something that I want to give her because she has been here so many years in the village, supporting our church with her voice, with positive votes when we needed to come against the board.
Against the board?
But that was before your great time, Mr. Mayor. So, I would just like to say, in my eyes, she knows how to handle her own canoe. She loves many, she trusts you, but she knows how to handle her own canoe. So roses mean remembrance. So I want to put a rose on her for all she did to help us try to build a better character, better people in the village of Nyack for our young people. Thank you. You may have to move because it's okay. And I'm getting senile, so I forgot to put the boutonniere on the mayor. There you go. When I came home, I had an extra one, and I said, "What is this?" And then when I spoke to the mayor about what I was doing for Marie, I said, "Did I put a facade on you?" He said, "No," which means it had withered, so I had to go back to Nancy Florida.
Which one is it?
I don't even know what side to put it on. Hope I don't stick you. But I would like to say, the mayor really, good, better, best. He never let it rest until his good was better and his better best. And if you just look at all the lines and things and what he did, you will understand what I'm saying. Thank you for your time. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Would you go to the prom with me, Francis?
Oh, our first is here.
Okay, so do we have folks that are gonna do?
Thank you. Is this just a gift?
Where's
Building department.
Oh, there it is. Our first order of business is to look at our fasttrack.gov building software. We're getting update on that, and our building inspector Manny Carmona, and also the representative from FastGov, Nancy Brady, will be leading us through.
Well, thank you very much, ma'am, for the opportunity of making this presentation here for you tonight. Just to refresh your memory, if you remember back in April this year, I made a overview presentation of the software that we are proposing that the village invest in for the betterment of the building department to bring us to that digital age that we are all in today, thus making it better for the community and for the process that we do on a daily basis. Since then, I did a lot of research. I contacted other communities that are using the program. They gave me a lot of positive feedback on that. We also worked on the contract agreement with Dennis, Michael, and Stuart, on the three of us together, and Nancy, to try to come to good terms. And the goal, what is the goal? The goal is to make the department eventually paperless. So I'd like to introduce Nancy Brady. She's the expert, the specialist for Humphrey Mitchell Company, and she's gonna give you that overview further than I could. Thank you.
So if we have questions, she has to answer.
She has to
All right.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for having us here. And excuse my back, I'm trying to switch back and forth here, so. But again, as Manny said, I am Nancy Brady with Mitchell Humphrey Software. And Mitchell Humphrey has been in business for over 45 years. We have clients nationally that use many different aspects of our software, not only just for building permits, but also other departments within municipal government. We provide web-based software to manage all the different permits, licensing, certificates, registrations, inspections, and reporting, most of all. One of the benefits of Fast Track Gov that the village is looking into is online services. So with our online services, we provide the option for the public to go online 24/7 to check the status of their permits and licenses, registrations and other information, to process permits, make payments, do an inquiry on that status. So they're real-time updates on an ongoing basis as their permit projects go through the process. They'll be able to go online to check to see where that status is. So, you know, I hate to give the credit to COVID, but that was one of the lessons learned on communicating with the public virtually, to have access to both the municipal government and vice versa. So not only could they apply online and check the status, even if they come to town hall and process these applications over the counter, they can still at another time go online and take a second step and eliminate some steps. So this, of course, is an optional service. It doesn't eliminate the need to come to Village Hall. But it is an option. So if you're working late or if it's a snowstorm, you know, it's nice and easy to be able to go online and do these things. So for the back office, it also helps them organize all their data. So the first thing we do is link directly to the tax assessor's property database. So that's a live integration. So the back office will always have the most up-to-date ownership information for every parcel in the village. And from there, they'll be able to see all the activity against each location, all their permits, inspections, licensing, registrations, things of that nature. And with that, they can make better decisions on anything that's outstanding, something that needs attention. So it kind of, you know, they have these little alerts against each location, each project as well. So they'll be able to attend to anything that's outstanding.
Is it both push and pull when somebody goes on, but also something that you pushed out to them?
Yes, this is all web-based, so it's a live interaction and automatically updated. So there's not like a, you know, an upload or a download, it's a live connection. The inspectors will be using a mobile app out in the field on a device, a handheld device such as a tablet or a phone. And with that, even if they're in an area where there's no connectivity, they can continue to do their work And when they get back to connectivity, it will automatically just upload. So that's called the disconnected mode is, the feature that we have available for the inspectors out there in the field. And with that, they'll be able to access all their information right from the tablet. So this is a relational database that's written on Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And what that really is an easy way to not only bring all the data across each property to your fingertips, it also allows us to get a little bit more personable where we can actually build a workflow and business rules across each application type. So with that being said, when those business rules are implemented, that application now follows a workflow. And there's a status field that constantly changes as that project goes through its levels of approval. And as that status updates, so if the application comes in, the next step may be, for that permit, making a payment up front or needing a prior approval or plan review. Each time there's a next step taken, that status updates and it updates the portal as well. So each time the constituents log back into the village portal, the village website, they'll see that new update. Okay, my application was submitted, or maybe it's, the permit has been issued. And then there's a service center, a message center where you can actually exchange emails and communication with the public as well. You may have, or they may have other questions, for that specific project. Did you have a question?
It sounds fantastic and very good. How many, are we like one of the first on it, or is it a situation where Manny can go out with his laptop and find out something that happened in New City or whatever?
Yeah, he'll be able to have Manny and his team that has access. Each user has their own license to access the program within his department. And they'll be able to access all the data within the village of Nyack.
But what I'm saying is how many are out there that have the license to do this?
How many other municipalities?
Other municipalities, I'm sorry, we have hundreds of clients around the country. We're a national company. The closest to Nyack would be right over into Bergen County, where we have a long list, which I provided to Manny as references. So there is a long list of references over in Bergen County, if you'd like to see them.
I just, are we gonna get a break for selling this? Okay, no, I'm just trying to figure.
Sure.
We're on the forefront, we're beginning in the county, so that, I would imagine, so.
That's correct. You are
Okay.
the first in the county.
Okay,
And we've worked very closely with Manny on we've had many demonstrations with our business analysts, where we actually went through the workflow and business processes of the existing applications that he has in his department. So we're going to be personalizing the software based on his requirements. So it's pretty flexible. And, Microsoft Dynamics CRM allows us to have that flexibility. So it's a very cutting edge technology that's on the back end and very adaptable. So even in the areas where there's local ordinances, if you have a new ordinance or new permits or new forms, it's very easy to have us configure these new forms. So you don't have to worry about eventually having to switch out, into and outgrowing your system. Its goal is to be a centralized repository where you have all the properties in town, all their activity, and then growing into anything new. So,
Go ahead.
How, I'd like to just ask a little bit more about the technology. How is it with troubleshooting? How accessible is IT? And what does the training look like for our inspectors? I don't know, stuff work.
Great question, because I should have brought that up, so I'm glad you asked. So a few things. So the first thing that happens is Manny and his team is assigned a project manager personally to this project, where he'll have his cell phone number. It's going to be one-on-one, and then a team behind that project manager. And they'll meet with him on, you know, at his convenience with him and his team, whether it's a weekly, bi-weekly basis, and take in their requirements. They'll ask questions, you know, for each permit type, each inspection type. What happens when this application comes in online or over the counter? And then we'll take in all his information. We'll take his fee schedule, we'll configure the fee schedule in the back and go through all the different aspects of his reporting, such as the New York State reporting that he's mandated to submit on a monthly basis. And we'll configure all of this through the requirement gathering process. Then we have ongoing training in multiple different ways. So we provide quick reference guides, documentation. We have recorded sessions, so we try to keep the training by category. So if we train on like filling out an application for a permit, we'll record that and then send that recording back to each of the users. So as they practice, they can go back and resort to that recording and stop it if they're busy, go back to it and do it at their leisure. So they'll have these recordings, the videos, but they'll also have something called a UAT, which is a user acceptance testing database. So they can literally practice in this database, make mistakes. They don't have to worry about breaking anything, you know, and then when it comes time to go live, we'll just clean up all that data and they'll start fresh. They'll have every block and lot, every parcel in the database to begin with. They'll search for that property. When they search for the property, they just double click on it and it fills in the application for them. And that comes directly from either the tax assessor or the county. So you'll always have the most up-to-date property information. Then we also have a help desk. And I think Manny mentioned earlier that the towns that he called upon, they mentioned the support that Mitchell Humphrey has provided. That's number one on our list, because if we can't make our clients happy, we won't have any. So we're very supportive when it comes to that. We have remote access. We have representatives that are right in New Jersey and that are about 15 minutes away. And multiple ways to access. We can have remote sessions where we could help them easily if they're busy and say, you know, shoot us an email to say, you know, I'm having a problem with this, but I have to run out. We literally can help them out. And then when they get back, you know, they can see it resolved or whatever the case may be. So through email, telephone, they do have full support, you know, on an ongoing basis. We also do these check-in meetings. So even after they go live, every month, 2 months, 3 months, just depending, these project managers will come back and say, how is everyone doing? You know, when you use new software, usually you kind of use what you need up front. It takes time to really incorporate it all. So they'll be able to gradually go back and see, you know, what new features they can add to their daily operation.
And how often do you update the software? Sorry.
There's really no set schedule. We try to, there are free upgrades. All the upgrades and unlimited support are included in the annual fees. So every time we do roll out a new upgrade, you get that at no charge. So there's really no set schedule, but we do have monthly meetings with our developers, and we keep a modification request chart of all the feedback of our clients. And we look through all these enhancement requests, and we first look at what would benefit everyone as a whole. And then we prioritize that list, and then we kind of see what we're going to include in that next version. Some changes could be done on the fly, and some have to wait, you know, for that next version. If it's anything state mandated, we try to focus on that first, especially anything involving the state reporting that's mandated for Manny's department. But the upgrades are included and the support is unlimited.
And because there's always a concern of data breaches, how do you guys handle that? How secure is the equipment? Especially with dealing with something as sensitive as building permits?
Yeah, so this is hosted out in the cloud and we have documentation on all the security measures that have taken place. We also require authentication when you log in. So there's many different ways that we, keep track of the security around the system.
That's, thinking.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Do you have anything else to, this sounds great, man. It's all, everything that you were looking for. I know when we first started. It sounds like-
I have invested a lot of time to make sure that we get, there's many programs out there. So I have seen maybe a dozen or this or more demonstration and spoken with a lot of communities, a lot of different programs. I started using them. And thus far, this is the best I have found. This is a program that can grow with us. It will grow with the community. We don't have to worry about like we are now. The program that we have now is obsolete. It's a waste of time and money for us. We need a program that will grow with us over the years. 10, 20, 15, 30 years from now, we can still continue, and all the history is captured in one location and organized. So any one of us in the community of us can at any time find out what's the status of the building department.
Are you very comfortable with where you stand with the program right now, or is it still a real learning process or a modification of what there is to accommodate needs that we might have?
I'm ready for the program to be installed today. I'm looking for your approval. That's why I asked Nancy to come and give you that extra that I couldn't give you. This program is ready to go. We are ready. The staff is ready. I've been preparing them for this.
Okay.
It's going to be a little difficult at the beginning, of course, because change is always tough, but I have a program in place for that training to make sure that we do get that training and that we do use the program on a daily basis, because this is going to be it. So we're ready. Just waiting for you. Okay.
Can I comment?
Please, yeah.
This might sound a little silly, but with the emergence of AI, has that been tested to integrate into this? Will it be? Are you guys leaving that in a separate place?
Right now, we're leaving it in a separate place because we're not confident of the security of it. So I think it's gonna take some time to accept the fact that it's okay and it's secure. It's too new to determine. I mean, it looks good. It looks very inviting, but it's just smart to wait. And that's where we are with that. I think we have enough of what we need within the system to make it work without it. This system, I think the only thing I may not have mentioned just yet, but the reason why you would use any software is the fact that you would need reports. You need a very easy way to collect all the data especially with FOIA. You need a variety of ways to pull data out of the system. And one of the biggest benefits of this system is that the reporting is extremely robust. And there's many different ways you can report. We have something called views, where it displays the data where it looks like an Excel spreadsheet. But above it, there's a drop-down menu that allows you to select different displays. So maybe I want to see all my permits that are opened, closed, permits pending inspections, prior approvals that are still pending, violations that are due or overdue. If I get a FOIA request and maybe I'm looking at this drop-down and I don't see the information that I need, there's something called Create My Own View. And when I select Create My Own View, it literally allows me to filter the data that I need. I can select the columns that I want to display, create that view, and then there's a button up on top that says Export to Excel. So it now allows me to take that data, export it to Excel, and then we can respond to that FOIA request. That's one way. The system also allows us to set it up for each user and let it be role-based, meaning that maybe when Manny logs in, the first thing he wants to see is all his permits, inspections, plan review, and so on. We could have up to 6 different categories on that sign-in screen. Maybe for the mayor or a business administrator or someone else that wants to see different types of reports, we can have a different display based on your needs when you log in. So that's just the first screen, but then behind it, all that data is drillable. So there's, many different ways you can report against the data, and it's very flexible as far as creating new reports.
Wow. Any other questions? So Andy and Manny, you're looking for us to say, go ye therefore and start in.
We'll put it on an agenda for your vote, because it's an agreement.
Right.
The board of trustees should vote on it.
But just for the public, this is in our budget, we're budgeted, and we were just looking for the right program, so. We good with getting a resolution at our next meeting with the agreement put into it?
I thought we did this 6 months ago, actually.
We talked about it.
No, we actually had Manny presented a couple, so.
Oh, okay, that's right.
This is the final one.
Well, one last question, sorry.
Sure.
Do you provide the hard technology, or that's something on us to do, like the tablets, iPhones, or phones, whatever?
On the handheld.
The handheld stuff?
That's internal, so we just provide the software.
Okay.
We direct you on, I do recommend that you go out and try out some of that hardware.
Yeah.
So just a personal, it's really a
We have
personal
stones and
choice.
chisels that we.
Yeah.
I guess it's more compatible better with Android and iPhone.
I think everyone has their own preference on what they like, the same as if I was gonna walk in and purchase a phone. I always recommend to go into a local shop and kind of look at the resolution, look at the look and feel, see what you're comfortable with. We are compatible with both Windows, iPhone, Android. So it's really up to you. And I suggest doing just that, because that's what you'll be comfortable looking at. I think everybody just has their own opinion.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And my business card is in that folder. So if there's any other questions that you may still want to ask, feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
if there's anything you'd like to see, I'd be more than happy, just let me know.
Under timing of the
No?
board.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I doubt that very many of us will be using the software
Okay.
to see if Manny's.
What we will be doing is calling Manny
Right.
and doing that.
Yeah, we do have a
All right.
couple extra
Well, thank
seats
you.
up here. I'm just gonna
Thank you
get
very much.
the projector out of your face in a second.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So hopefully that's everybody.
Yes.
We'll also be able to have less employees. That's a lot of line.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So while we're waiting for the clock to turn to 8, I just wanted, we had some of these things called local elections on Tuesday. And I wanted to congratulate those that won the elections. Joe Carlin is here, who is a trustee elect. Natalie Taylor is the other trustee elect. And last but not least is our new mayor elect, Joe Rand. Congratulations to all of you. And thank you for your willingness to do this. It's sometimes a challenge, but always fun. At least when I was doing it. So I don't know about Joe. He may not make it as much fun.
Come on.
Actually, he'll probably make it more fun than that.
No, I'm not gonna- Just exactly.
But again, congratulations, Joe, Natalie, and Joe for winning your elections. We look forward to serving each other. Natalie, go.
Yeah.
Want to do that before you vote?
Let's just, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Second.
And a second from Pascal. Any questions or clarifications on the minutes? Thank you, Manny, Nancy, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. I know my lawyer's gonna make me wait till 8 o'clock, so I'll just give us one more tick of the clock. I will be, as we're doing it, we're gonna have a lot of public comment tonight, I'm sure. I will be timing public comment for 3 minutes. When it gets to 2.5, I'll put my hand up to let you know. At 3 minutes, I'll ask you to stop. And you can come up again if you'd like to, but just so that we make sure that we hear as many people as we can, we're gonna hold to the 3-minute rule, which is something that's usually on our agenda, but we don't always hold to when we don't have a full room. But I will be doing that to make sure that we manage the meeting the best way we can. We are now at 8 o'clock, so I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing on the emergency tenant protection.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Anyone that would like to comment on it, when you come up to the front, we ask that you address the board and give us your name and where you're from. Who would like to go first? Oh, good. Could we close the public hearing?
Hello, board. My name is Brian William. I live in Nyack, New York, on Cedar Hill Avenue, and I would like to address to you a statement that I have written within the afternoon. So, Nyack is a community rich in multi-unit dwellings built prior to 1974. Nyack cannot let rents balloon out of control because of a few investors will obtain lower profits if Nyack stops the insane rental price increases. This is ultimately what happens when there's a private housing supply is limited and public supply is non-existent or nearly non-existent. Commoditized housing in general is not the optimal humanitarian solution for Nyack. Nyack needs to adopt declaring a housing emergency and opt in the New York State Emergency Tenant Protection Act of 1974. There's a general sentiment in the community that while rent prices are rocketing above market rate, and that services provided today to tenants is seriously lacking into comparison of legacy landlords within Nyack. There needs to be protection for the community, for members to afford where they have lived and where they wish to live for years to come. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any return?
We're going to actually go through it and then we'll have comments from the board.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Carmela Conklin. I'm from Warren Hills. I'm a regional property manager for there. I'm a landlord. This is Frank. Frank's from West Shore. He's a landlord also. We've been speaking to the board about the issues. And I know that, everyone's here for that reason of the rent control. The ETPA is basically for 6 of the properties, I would say 6 or 7. And for us at Warren Hills, I think we're pretty fair and whatnot. And we have been dealing with the board, so we're asking for the board to table this for tonight so we can kind of speak to everyone again. I know we met on Monday. We would like to speak again and try to come to some agreement that is good for the landlords and the residents. So that's what we're asking for tonight. And we love our residents and we would really like to work with everyone. And we think that we're really good landlords. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do believe that ETPA is somewhat of a blunt instrument and we could probably together create something that works for something better that works for the tenants and the property owners in Nyack.
Thank you. Yep. Have to take it easy. I'm going over the front.
Good evening. My name is Alex Bornstein. I'm here in dual capacities. I live in Nyack. I'm also the executive director of the Legal Aid Society of Rockland County. I have represented tenants as a lawyer in this county for 38 years. And the rental situation has never been worse, truly. We see so many situations right now in this county where the landlords raise the rent by 50% because they can. There's no law prohibiting a landlord from raising the rent in private housing by as much as they want to. And many clients of the Legal Aid Society can't afford the new rent, which results either in homelessness, being forced to move out of the county. The equation is very simple. When I started here in 1985, Nyack was a place where people who are not rich could live. You don't want this to community would submit to you to become a place that it's only affordable for rich people. You want the diversity, you want to have a mix of people here, and the only way, from my point of view, to have that happen is to enact this legislation. PTPA can work. It limits the rents. Right now, a private landlord, you've lived there for 20 years. All they have to do is to give you a 90-day notice and increase your rent or kick you out. This legislation won't stop all that, but at the very least, it will prevent landlords from having absolutely unfettered discretion as to when the rent could be raised. And for that reason, and to make sure that this community remains diverse, you don't want to be a place where you have this Nyack Plaza and public housing. You don't want it. You want people to be able to live in private housing. And the only way to make that happen, I would submit to you, is to have this legislation enacted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Charlotte Jarrett. I'm a tenant on High Avenue. I'm a little confused, maybe a little late to the game as well about ETPA. So I'm unsure whether it's been voted just to be to cover buildings with over 25 units. I don't know whether you've decided on that yet. If you haven't, I would urge you to table the meeting and consider including buildings with less units. I'm here to give you an insight into what is already happening, not what will happen, but what is already happening. Tenants in the 6 buildings that were sold this year in like a $12 million purchase, because portfolio of 6 buildings that were currently owned by a resident and now owned by somebody who does not reside in Nyack, didn't see some of the properties, didn't know they had tenants in some of those buildings, and some tenants were without electricity, gas, and water. Other tenants, myself, have got $500 rent increase a month. Single mothers with $900 rent increases a month. This woman works in the emergency room. She can't afford $900 a month. Tenants have been given rent demands without the legal notice. They're double dip. We've been given leases that double dip for late payments and overcharged by nearly 3 times the amount that's legal. We've been given leases that are incomplete and don't have, that don't have state clauses filled out properly. So these are just, and buildings that are unmaintained. Residents are moving out because of these increases, and we're seeing overcrowding already in some of the buildings. A 1-bedroom apartment with now 5 people in it, that we have infestation that we never had before, comes along with overcrowding. Unmaintained because people don't live in the building and they're unreachable. We don't have supers that are reachable anymore. We have a fire department at the building again today with a boiler that is overheated again. The ongoing issues of maintenance that are not addressed and will be harder to address when these when properties are used as just struggling to find the word, but just used for investment purposes and not as places where people reside with lives and children and jobs and everything else that goes along with life. So that's what I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Catherine O'Neill and I live on Sickles Ave. I've resided in the residence of Intermentor there for 17 years. And we've had steady increases of maybe 2%, 2.5% most per year. Last year, my rent personally, I'm just speaking for myself, it went up 12%. And this year in June and July, I had a fire because of lack of proper maintenance. We had a flood in my apartment because of lack of proper maintenance, and the ceiling that my kids' bedroom is in also came down, had to be put out. Nothing of which has been. The fire has gotten fixed, but besides that, nothing else has been tended to. And I just got my lease beginning of the week, where it's another 10% increase without any maintenance done. To, as Charlotte said, to just this problem of landlords who aren't there. This is an investment. They don't care about the people. You know, Nyack is a place where, like the America you were promised, it's a diverse community, economically, on religious, on with everything. Nyack's an amazing community. So please consider whenever you vote on it passing ETPA so that people can stay here. I love Nyack. I'd like to stay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Rich Langeron. I'm the Executive Director of the Hudson Valley Property Owners Association, HVPOA. And I just want to comment. You know, looking at the village of Nyack, you actually have a healthy rental market. What do I mean by that? Turns out that there are approximately 2,500 rental units in the village. A full 20% of them are set aside and government subsidized, but not low income, but for very low income. That's an amazing accomplishment. Full 20% of the entire village is set aside for very low. There are, of course, you have citizens who wish to pay more for luxury waterfront housing, and they can afford to, and they want to do that. I want to talk about the middle ground. I'll give you an example. Like Warren Hills, 190 units. So when you compare the rents at Warren Hills to the HUD definition of affordable, that's 80% of the area median income, household income. Area median household income in the village of Nyack is $116,300. That translates into, for a two-bedroom apartment, a quote, affordable rent, $2,326. The rents at Warren Hills, which is the largest property on your list, is below affordable. So besides the fact that 20% are set aside for very low, the majority of the rents, other than for those tenants who wish to pay more, are called the middle market. Those rents are already what HUD would define as affordable. Now, as a result, it would be very difficult for the board to conclude that there is a rent emergency. Now, the other thing is that this proposition would only cover 20% of the units in the village. 80%, and many of the tenants that you hear tonight will not be helped. I just want to talk about the survey. The survey, 4 of the 9 buildings in the survey are these very low income, set aside subsidized buildings. It's actually more than half of the units in your survey. These units in most surveys are left out because very low subsidized always have very, very low vacancy rates. And so it's not a true picture of the vacancy rate in the general market. If you take them out of your survey and just look at market rate housing, the vacancy rate is 7%, which is more representative of what's in your village. This is a distorted picture of the vacancy rate in your village.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So where do you have that from?
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not gonna do that. You want to make a statement, you can, but we are not gonna argue with people in this meeting. Everybody has a right to say what they want to say.
Hi there. So it's been a year.
Could you give us your name? please?
Nancy Jagelka. I'm at 197 Sickles Avenue, Riverview Apartments. It's been a year since I've spoken to all of you about the situation that was occurring at Riverview with rent increases and other types of maintenance problems, but mostly the rent increases. And I'm going to read a very brief chronology of what it's been like for the past year, dealing with this property management company without any guidelines or ETPA or anybody. So from 2019 to 2023, the complex passed through various corporate entities. And beginning in 2019, that's when we started receiving these incredible rent increases with no explanation, no 60 to 90-day notices, nothing. Just we're raising it and we don't have to give a reason. Because of that, we lost, I would say, about a third to almost a half of our families who were pushed out from rent increases, anywhere from $100 to $1,400 a month increase without legal notification. These people did not know that they were entitled to mediate, they were entitled to notice, that they had guidelines. Okay, they didn't know that, so they left. In the fall, that's when we began discussions on ETPA. And at the same time, my lease was up for renewal in March of 2023. And I began talking to the landlord about renewing. And I was assured that I was in good standing and I would be renewed. On December 12th, I spoke at a village meeting here and told everybody here in this meeting that it was illegal what was going on at Riverview. And my statement was posted and online as part of the meeting minutes. On January 3rd, even though I was told I was going to get my renewal, I was told I have a notice to vacate. Since then, I've had to negotiate and I refused to move and stayed and dealt with these landlords who finally, in just this month alone, finally gave me another lease. During this time, I watched more families move out, more increases with no explanation, and the deterioration of our building.
Please wrap up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is a clear example of why we want ETPA. To monitor the rent as well as management of the buildings so that people know their rights and can pay and live affordably. So,
thank you. Just give us your name first, please. Thank you.
My name is Luke Unger. I'm a neighbor of Charlotte's, so in the same building. I'd like to add my testimony to hers. Nyack is a town of residents, not of landlords, and the problem in the town is not an overabundance of renters protections. I've personally had my rent hiked $165 a month, quoted as increased cost of maintenance, increased cost of living, this, that, the other thing. And nothing's been improved, nothing's been affected, nothing has changed except the continued deterioration of the building. The landlord, new owners of the building have attempted to force new lease contracts, which don't quite seem legal, just in hope that people ignorant of their situation sign it and sign the rights away. there's not really, if they don't know better, they can't do better. There's not really anything. It feels like there's no real support. There's no want for the town to keep people in it. We're just gonna have landlords buying up new properties, hiking the rent by hundreds of dollars every month and squeezing people out of the town. I love this town. I moved here about 5 years ago. I'd love to raise a family here, but if people are just gonna buy my building and let the place rot to waste and keep hiking the prices up, I don't think I can justify staying. And that's about all I have to say.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tim Foley. I'm the CEO of the Building and Realty Institute of Westchester and Rockland and Putnam, which is a real estate trade association. Many of my members are folks who work in the affordable housing industry. We prize that very highly. We know affordability is at a crisis for a lot of housing throughout New York State. But many of my other members are those who own or manage existing rental properties, including quite a number of landlords who are already attempting to make ends meet under ETPA. So although I have a lot of appreciation, a lot of sympathy with a lot of the issues that have been aired, in my experience, in my opinion, ETPA will actually make a number of them worse. It is too blunt an instrument. It was designed in 1974. We need a 21st century solution to some of these problems. Just to highlight a couple of points. Number one, as I understand it, only about 20% of the rental units in Nyack would be potentially covered by ETPA, which means that although there is a need for rental protections for 80% of renters, they would not see that. Nothing would practically change for them. For the folks who are within those 20%, we have seen a dramatic disinvestment in those properties in Westchester County and elsewhere. And this is largely because the terms under which landlords could recoup money for major capital improvements and individual apartment improvements were changed by the 2019 Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act. Hudson Valley Pattern for Progress did a study and using the state's own data and found that the number of landlords who can actually proceed with a major capital improvement, replacing a boiler, replacing a roof, fixing an elevator when it breaks down, has dropped by 80% since that law passed. So if people are concerned about disinvestment in their properties, that's something that unfortunately in practical experience, ETPA makes a little bit worse. The last thing that I just want to say, generally speaking, is when you're dealing with I have a number of folks in my association who are small landlords. They might have one building, they might have 25 units in it, it might be passed down, it might be something where they're trying to make that their investment income for when their parents retire or what have you. Those guys get called by Blackstone every month. And the reason why they get called by Blackstone and all these other faceless corporate landlords is because they have a harder and harder time making the investments that they need in their properties. The rent guideline increases generally don't keep pace with inflation. They're under a big squeeze since 2019. I don't know how Blackstone and those guys do it, but they're the only ones who have successfully found a way to keep those properties operating. But that comes with a very big cost. Someone earlier was talking about how you want local folks on the ground who know and love the community. That's a lot of my members. That tends not to be what you get with ETPA. So I think there are better options out there. I know you've been in discussions with some of your local landlords about affordability specifically, and I think that should continue.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm John Vermata, 8 First Avenue. Also, I'm a small landlord in the village of Nyack. And if I were a selfish person, I'd come up here and say, please don't do ETPA, because as a small landlord, what I found is that there is tremendous upward pressure on rents from the newer buildings and larger buildings that have gone into Nyack. That makes it very tempting to smaller landlords and some of the other smaller buildings that won't be affected by ETPA to raise rents. So I see that ETPA, even though it applies to 20% of buildings in the village, will still have benefits for other tenants who are in smaller buildings. And I wish that we would have more rent control across a wider variety of housing in Nyack, and the ETPA doesn't go far enough to begin to deal with what is truly a housing emergency in Nyack, where we're losing, seeing long-term tenants here, who've lived for years, have to leave this community and go elsewhere because they can't afford to live here anymore. And, as a long-term, small landlord, I'm sort of committed to trying to keep long-term residents here. And I hope you will do that too. I also just wanted to mention that many of our neighboring villages in Westchester have adopted ETPA, and the sky has not fallen. Groton-on-Hudson, Dobbs Ferry, Town of Eastchester, Town of Harrison, Village of Hastings-on-Hudson, Village of Irvington, Larchmont, Austin, Sleepy Hollow, Pleasantville, Portchester. The point is that other communities, many very similar to ours, are doing this, and the sky is not falling. Landlords are making money, maybe the profit margins are smaller, but I think that we can expect a little bit of sacrifice from our larger landlords to help keep our community whole and keep long-term residents here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, my name is Taylor Mandelbaum. I live on 19 Dickinson Avenue. My previous public comments, I always make the funny joke that my driveway is in Clarkstown. So I'm going to continue with that tradition. To be blunt, this has gone on way too long. People are losing their housing, moving away. Nancy's comment rings true. I was here for many meetings with her. I knocked on hundreds of doors when I ran in the primary this year for village trustee. Untenable rent increases were a common sentiment. I'm not here just to speak my views, but of others and to think of the data. I'm a data scientist. I do statistics every day of my life. The area median income is a fundamentally problematic tool to use when there's a disproportionate number of wealthy homeowners. It's Stats 101 that a median is robust to outliers, but when your distribution is skewed, it's not a realistic tool to base many of these discussions on. In fact, gentrification or individuals of wealthy means moving into an area will have negative impacts on the individuals living here trying to make ends meet. Let's not forget also the historical injustices in Nyack, such as of Jackson Avenue. Thanks to the board again for allowing a healthy discussion and debate on this important subject. I want to really step back and look at the fundamental question of housing. Transparently, I'm very transparent. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I view housing as a human right. These folks are not investment opportunities. Full stop. There is an inherent antagonism between tenants and landlords. Even if landlords have the best of intentions, tenants are ultimately coerced into rent increases that often cost more hardship on them. I understand inflation, I understand cost increase, and I respect when landlords do it in a responsible manner to make sure that they're okay, as well as their tenants are not screwed out of their money. Tenants can't just simply leave. It's very hard to just up and move. Housing is not a free market. You can't just go to get a TV and go to get another TV, decide which one you want more because they look prettier or something like that. It's not a simple free market. It just truly is not. Vacancy is stretched thin, as you saw in the study. There's a limited amount of rental space available, and up and moving your entire life is disruptive and untenable, and especially for people who are not as able, extremely expensive and prohibitive. The bottom line is people need to be protected from these untenable rent increases. There's as much an affordability issue as an issue of housing justice. Even these proposals by landlords, how does that protect the people already negatively impacted? There are people in the village who have had an increase in the rent by up to 53% or more. Unless you're at a very, very lucky point in your career, that's outright ridiculous. The ETPA is still insufficient as a solution to the housing crisis. Let's be clear, this is meant to be a stopgap to prevent further runaway costs and more immigration from the area. For those not in that umbrella of 25 plus units, we need to consider alternatives like tenant unions, as well as other creative solutions like social housing developers owned by the village or the county. We've lost 10% of our young people between 2017 and 2021 in Orangetown. That's ridiculous. I'm going to wrap up, please. Absolutely. We don't have much. We have a $6 million budget and 0.77 square miles, but ETPA is a tool that can help us. Thank you so much. Finish this. Vote the ETPA into the law. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Sorry, I didn't think about that. Trying to manage the meeting.
Hi, my name is Christina and I have been a tenant in Riverview. I've been a tenant at Riverview of Nyack Apartments for about 8 years. At the time of 2015, I was paying $1,000 for a one-bedroom apartment. When it got raised at the time of renewal, after a year, it was $25, which was 2.5%. It was continuously raised between 2.5 and 5%, which was $25 or so for 4 years. Once the new owners came in 2019, my rent was $11.65. Then I was raised to $12.22 in 21, 5% raise, then $12.71 in 2022, and then 4% raise. Then last year, 2023, I was raised up to $19.50, which was $679 increase or 53%, which is outrageous. Over the years, Building A that I'm in on the first floor had serious plumbing issues. Our bathrooms would be backed up with sewage in the bathtub and toilets. Supers were called as well as plumbing companies several times to snake this out, but it was just fixed at the time being, and that was that. Last year, before I signed my lease renewal, I was told the property managers wanted to know if I was staying or vacating so they can fix or renovate my apartment. I was also to let them know to bump up. I had a bump in a hardwood floor, and for them to fix it, I went on the maintenance portal and they had stamped it that it was already completed when it had never gotten fixed. I had emailed the property manager as well as the general manager, and I told them I would not be paying the 5% renewal lease increase until the repairs were completed in my apartment. The general manager told me, and I quote, "Ownership won't be negotiating the increase amount and or any repairs to this unit at this time. They're willing to offer me a renovated apartment across from me, which moves out on 11/30. Once that unit is ready, we'd be happy to transfer you without transfer fees, and the market rent for this unit would be $2,495. We would need to know if you wanted to transfer to this unit no later than November 6th, since Michelle will be pre-leasing that apartment at the end. No repairs really, and you want to transfer me to an apartment across that had plumbing issues from the start. Tenants have been moving in and out of that continuously. Then almost paying $2,500. No, thank you. I've asked the general manager who comes up with these percentages and for the rent renewals. I've been a model tenant, quiet, nice, and always on time with my rent. I've gone along with this increases, even the ridiculous high ones, because I love where I live and I'm safe and comfortable and one of the last affordable places in Nyack for now. And I'm really hoping you pass the EPTA so people can afford to stay in their homes here in Nyack.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Name's Alex Bertha. Lived here in Niagara all my life, born here. I'm a landlord, have some buildings, and my rents are low. You know, I have one bedrooms that are as low as 1,400. I have two bedrooms as low as like 1,900. Some of them, when the people move out, I bump them up to fair market value, and I would love to continue doing that because I have the right to do that. And taking away that right is pretty wrong, I think. Well, a lot of these things that I hear, it's terrible, but that's not what I do, and that's not what everybody does. But these laws, if they were to affect me, because most of my buildings are less than 25 units, but if some of them are above 6, so if it did 3% sucks. I mean, it wouldn't help me. I couldn't make any money. And we are in the business here to make money. I have a family. I pay $55,000 a year insurance. It comes out about 50, 55, 52 for my dental. I mean, I have bills too. Everybody's bills go. We all. There's a problem everywhere. Everybody's paying more than they used to. Housing is a crisis, not just here in Nyack. It's throughout the world. It sucks, but I'm Russian. We came from a communist country. I'm sorry. I'm Russian. We came from a communist country. My family came over here. I was born in Nyack Hospital, and just that's not what America was made out of. You come here, you work your ass off, you do something, and your family grows, and, I don't, I'm talking too much, but I guess you guys got the
You still
point.
have, you still have a minute left, so.
3% really sucks. I mean, you know, I don't like raising my tenants' rents.
Why not, I think it's a 3%.
3% really sucks. I mean, like, if, you know, like, one bedroom apartments are supposed to be about $2,000 or something like that, and if my one bedroom's only 1,400 and the tenant moves out, and I had over 25 units, and I could only raise it 3%, where would landlords do not put in their pocket that $1,400. They put a couple $100,000 in their pocket per apartment, if they're getting fair market value. If they're not, they might be getting less, they might be losing, they might be getting more, but you have to return the money into the building, and if you don't have the money to return into the buildings are gonna get shittier, and la, la, la. Very true.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Ruda. Yeah. I've been a long-term tenant of Nyack, at Riverview for about 20 years. And, the rent increases at our place, some of them have doubled, 10% to 50%. And some of these units are not even renovated. I live in an unrenovated unit. And I think the ETPA would be the best thing at this point to stop the craziness for right now. That's been it.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Seta Chanel and I'm also a landlord. So I just want to give the flip side, kind of like what Alex was saying. We bought foreclosure in Nyack several years ago. And we put everything we had into it, you know, not only our investment, everything that we sacrificed for years, you know, not doing things like not taking vacations, you know, not buying a new car, you know, not going to the ball games, you know. So when a landlord buys something, it's not just extra money that's sitting there. We are also sacrificing and investing in something. And I think there's a misnomer to think that landlords are landlords, okay? We're not land barons. We've taken our money and instead of putting it in one place or another, we've decided to invest in our community. So with that, I'll tell you that we spent years dreaming, planning, building, and we finally completed the project. And sometimes, like I said, it's a misnomer that the word landlord, we're in an age where we're redefining everything. So we shouldn't call it landlords. We're really investors in the community. And we don't have a staff. There's no concierge. There's no management company. There's no doorman. For the most part, we're just your neighbors, just regular people who have sacrificed over the years, like I said, for a little bit of what we felt was the American dream. Something as we get older, something to supplement our Social Security, so we don't have to depend on the government to take care of us as we grow older. So speaking for myself, I would think that many other multifamily property owners in Nyack got here through years of sacrifice and the choices we made along the way, because it is, ultimately, we are a product of our choices. And I do believe that. And, you know, it didn't come easy, but we put a lot into it. And when people are going home, and I'm not saying anything here, I feel for everyone over here, at night, we don't go home and have a glass of wine and kick back, all right? When we get a phone call from a tenant, we're there taking care of it. There's maintenance, there's taxes, there's permitting. You know, having a property in Nyack is not inexpensive. Let me just say that. Every time you want to take down a tree, anytime you want to put up a fence, anytime you want to do everything comes with a price tag. My taxes are over $30,000 a year, and I'm sure they'll continue going up. So we do have a lot of pressure, landlords. Okay, I'll try and go quick. Okay, so there's constant upkeep, there's taxes, maintenance, permits, like I said. And when we're not doing this, we're not in our yachts, we're not going to Tuscany for the summers, you know, we're just regular people trying to make a buck. And, you know, I have not raised the rents in my building since the pandemic, actually before. I'm not one of those people that gouge, and I don't really, and this doesn't even, I think, relate to me because I've only got a 4-family, but I don't think it's right for the government to be part of our investment. And I feel for everyone, I don't think anyone should have like their rent doubled, but give us a break,
Thank you.
really, because we need a break too. We are also people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Howdy ho. Everybody already knows me. My name is Amir Lamir. I've been a resident of Nyack for the last 15 years, and this year is my wife. That's also been a resident in the apartment complex that we moved into, which is 197 Sickles Avenue. So a lot of people talked about a lot of interesting things tonight. So there's a lot of landlords that are in this room right now that understand and feel for their tenants and they work with their tenants. But when you have landlords that are greedy corporations and that are doing things illegally, like I'd like to have the town find how many permits 197 ever had between 2020. I'm sorry, 2019, all the way up to now. And I'm pretty sure it's less than 10. And besides that, there are more apartments in that complex that we have in there. Secondly, there's no renovations. So renovations, I've lived with 15 years, never had cabinets, kitchen, or anything changed. With the old ownership that used to be there, they would refund you a certain amount of money, to repaint your apartment. And then they would ask you, okay, we'll change this and that for you. And they'd add the extra security deposit onto the old security deposit that we had and raise it up by $75, not by 60%. And then force us to bring it up more, and we don't even repair anything that we have, and then we have to deal with it. Our apartment, I will invite everybody in here to come to my apartment, and we can have
Clean it up first, hold on.
we can have
Kind of went off on your own there.
we can have a beach party, because ever since I've moved in there, I've never had the ability to regulate heat or cold. So one day the apartment can be as hot as the Sahara, and other days it can be as cold as the Antarctic. And we have no choice. We just choose about how many more blankets we have. And we actually have a fight over that, about like how many blankets I need, for one another. But
30 seconds.
that should not be the concept. And all the renovations and everything else, there's no permits, old windows and everything else. You can't, if you're gonna ask for a certain amount of money, you gotta give us a certain type of value. And as a firefighter, that building is gonna burn soon. Unfortunately, it's gonna burn because the electricity and the electrical lines in there are not up to date. And when it burns, we're gonna be sorry. And how many people are gonna, risk their lives for it? Right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 2 statements from other tenants that couldn't be here. They moved into the complex in December 2020. Within 2 weeks, he had several significant plumbing issues that were originally resolved, but were a huge inconvenience. After a few more months, I had additional problem issues with toilets that eventually forced me to move to another unit upstairs. There were multiple occasions where I had half an inch of sewage in my bathroom and hallways. I was very close to contacting the Board of Health, but chose to move to another unit. As a result, in the move upstairs, the rent increased more than $300 a month. So because of the complex and property needed repairs, I was forced to move and pay an unneeded rent increase. To whom it may concern, She was a tenant in Riverview in Nyack and rented a 2-bedroom apartment that was only half renovated, as old windows from the 70s, no insulation, buildings are not up to code, no thermostat to regulate the heat, and pay $2,600 a month for the first year. Last year it was raised another $100. I now pay $2,700 a month. Where does this all end? I am sorry. I am all for the vote of the regulation of residents for housing. Other residents' rents were increased without renovations. This is unacceptable. Why are the landlords allowing this? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just, something I forgot to say that I'd like to add on to what I said. If you think about all the number of units in the 6 buildings that are owned by our LLC, and the monthly increase for tenants, all that money is going to an LLC. It is no longer being spent in village businesses. It's not, I know I have $500 no longer available to me to go out to dinner, to go and get a coffee, to go to the farmer's market, go get my kids to go get pizza. And that's just my budgeting. You know, I have to decide now, you know, that money is not available to spend locally. And that's the same for all the tenants in all those buildings. That money is not going to the village. That's how another way that huge rent increases will affect the community. And I would like to respond also to the gentleman that said, you know, there's lots of people coming in with lots of money that can rent these apartments. There might be, but our experience is that's not what's happening. We're getting big families move in. We don't know which ones are on the lease. We have a big overcrowding in the units that have changed hands recently in our buildings. And that will impact schools, and it will impact the wear and tear and parking and things. And, you know, it's going to impact the building department as well, because these buildings need to be inspected. They have violations already. They were solved with violations, and that will impact the building department. There's going to be more work when these buildings are not maintained or haven't been maintained for a long time. I do agree with Taylor that maybe there needs to be another way. I don't know if ETPA is the way, but I don't think it covers enough. It offers tenants, all the tenants, like a protection. I feel that it offers some tenants and not enough of the tenants are protected under it. Thank you.
Hi. If you allow me, a second. Question. Thank you. I just, I'm a numbers guy. We're gonna talk. I'm a landlord. I live on Social Security. The income supplements my Social Security. So ETPA and the 2019 changes to it have really hurt housing. And just give you the number. So the numbers are that a landlord cannot invest in an apartment more than $15,000 and be compensated over the course of 15 years. And you know, these are old buildings, built in before 1974, so they're at least 50 years old. They need a lot of maintenance. Tenants move out. Very often, the property owners here want to, in many cases, renovate kitchens and bathrooms because they're 25 years old. But to renovate a kitchen or bathroom right now, I don't know if you homeowners need to do any of this work right now, it's anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000. So guess what? They're not going to happen anymore. So unfortunately, the people who wrote these laws don't really know the numbers, and so any building that's put into this program is basically condemned to disinvestment. And if you know maintenance problems, you think there's maintenance problems, maintenance problems only get worse because there's just no money to do it. So you know, being a landlord is a tough business. chasing rents, not getting paid. I got a call last night, there was no heat. It's called business. And can't do it for free. It is a business. So, you don't want to basically condemn these buildings in being seriously deteriorated and create slums. If that's what you'd be doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, as that young gentleman there was just saying, about, the rental and having to update buildings. Just as I finished, I was talking about updating to have the security. How are you gonna update a building and not take care of the people that are inside by forcing them to leave and find a different place to dwell? It just makes no sense. And when I got involved in this about 1.5 years ago, I used to be a successful business owner in Nyack on 53 Hudson Avenue with a kickboxing studio. And I did programs with the library, did programs with the Nyack Center. I was part of the whole community. Once COVID happened, you know, and everyone got away and decided that they're gonna run their own business and raise their rents to whatever, and I had to leave Nyack. I ended up losing my business the last 2 months. So I've been unemployed because I lost the business that I was feeding my family, paying my rent and everything else for the last 14 years. Because someone else wants to have a little more money, but doesn't want to put in the other investment into it and doesn't want to pay for the legal aspect of fees, licenses, and having certified individuals working on it. Because with that 197's apartment, a lot of the new apartments that they have renewed are the ones that have more trouble than the old apartments. So the electrical lines, as I said before, and then the piping and everything else, because of the overload and the wattage of electricity that they're putting into those new apartments, causes more of a problem. So if a landlord wants more money, give them something that equals that same amount of money. I'm not gonna trade my Mercedes in for, you know, an old 2000 Honda if I don't know that there's a good engine in that 2000 Honda. All right, so they might want money, but we want a place to live. We want a place that we raise our families. We want a place that we make our community great, where we talk and we walk around the town. I see all you guys. I got run into you at the gas station. I've been with you at you know what concerts that we've had. We've been in the park, you know, celebrating with the drum bands. We've been at the library, you know. So this is what the community is. It's about pushing people. How many new people in this community can you say have any type of knowledge with you? If anyone that raises their hands up in here, everyone that's in here has probably lived in here more than 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
A very brief comment. I've testified before the Rent Stabilization Board, and the idea the landlords are going to be impoverished by ETPA is simply not true. If you look at what's happening in Spring Valley, if you look at the profit statements that were submitted by the landlords, the money is being made. It's not as if we're asking the landlord to suffer losses. We're asking to be reasonable with respect to the tenants, and no more than that. Nobody was denied the landlord side to make money. It has to be, I would submit, a reasonable amount of money. And I will leave all the other philosophical stuff aside because it's not the time for it. 2019 Act is being referred to here so many times. It was the only way to level the playing field for tenants. That's my belief. Others disagree. That's not for this discussion. What the discussion here is what you can do to balance the interest of the landlords, which are legitimate, and the tenants, which are also legitimate. And how do you want this community to grow? In what fashion? And that's all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah.
I'm gonna be brief again. So I understand that we have a systemic failure. Oh, by the way, I'm Taylor Mandelbaum, 19 Dickinson, long time no see. I understand that we have a systemic failure of disinvestment. Landlords fill a gap to provide housing for people. Reality is reality, and I understand that reality is not black and white. Some of the commentary here, honestly, just, I don't know how else to put it, but disgusted me in the sense of hearing people calling landlording a business. I get it's a business, but you're talking about providing a basic human need for people. I just don't understand how there's such a dehumanization involved with it. Considering providing a roof over people's head as a way to profit, I understand if you have an accessory dwelling unit, if you have something that, you know, just making ends meet, you're on Social Security. I get it, it's tough, and there's a societal gap that's being filled by people who are providing housing to people. But I've been unhoused, I've been housing challenged in my life. I know, and I've lived the experience of barely making ends meet, and it's not easy. Providing protections for tenants, ETPA is not perfect. I said it, other people have said it. It is a stopgap, it is a minimum, but we need something, and it's been ridiculously long enough at this point. And just to provide a little bit of flavor, I bought a home back in 2021. And when all is said and done, I was very lucky. I had a very, very lucky set of circumstances to provide me the ability to provide a small down payment, not much, no generational wealth. And there are rentals that are higher than my house. And it just blows my mind that people pay this, they're struggling, they can't save up for a down payment. Interest rates are already high enough as it is now. People aren't able to generate wealth. People aren't able to have social mobility. And again, ETPA is at least something to provide a stopgap to change the tide. Anyways, I'm going off script, so thanks again.
So I want to give an opportunity for anybody that hasn't spoken yet to speak. I think that the multiple folks coming up is sort of, we're arguing with each other. I think the board has heard all of the input from folks. Unless the board would like to hear multiple again, I would say let's just do first times going forward.
First time speaker.
There he is.
Mayor-elect, trustees. Name is Walter Bass, moved to the village in 1972 before this legislation was passed. The landlords and property managers who came up all gave their occupations. I'll say I'm also a landlord, though not here in the village. I wish everyone who came up gave their occupations, because I think something that may have been missed is that the people being driven out of this village are our nurses, our home health care aides, our firefighters, our nannies. These people are vital to our village. Whether or not you choose to declare this, the housing emergency exists in this village. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to go to the board now. Are we prepared to close the public hearing? Would you like to make comments before we do that, after we do that?
We're gonna come back and discuss the resolution, right?
We'll have the resolution will be later, yes. But we would close the public, we can talk about the resolution when it comes up. Man, that's probably a better plan. But are we ready to close the public hearing, or do we want to keep going? We ready to close it? So then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Just you should clarify what that means to they don't have to do that.
What?
I don't think they realize what that means.
So the closing the public hearing means that there will be no longer public discussion about it with us. We've taken public comments. We've got emails, other things that have come to us. We do have a resolution before us, which we will move towards that. And we'll see how the board is feeling after all of the input that we've received from the community. But what we've done is we've just closed the public hearing, and now we're going to move on to the rest of the meeting, which puts us into our process of looking at our resolutions. Okay? Is that clear? Sometimes doing public, this public stuff is, you do it for so long, you're not good at explaining it. So that's where we are. We will now move to public comment on any of our action items. Later in the meeting, we'll have public comment on any item that you would like to bring up. So if you're not here for ETPA and you have something else, that will come after we discuss our resolutions. Dominic, I know that makes you stay another probably half hour, sorry.
Okay.
Just, well, yeah, but we can't, unless we. Let's, so we're at public comment for any of the action items. Our first action item is resolution is based on our audited voucher summary. Our second one is for us to go back to the parking authority, approve the policy change, and now the board will consider it. Our next one is for us to approve a special event permit application for the Congregation of Sons of Israel for Tuesday, November 14th at Hezekiah Easter Veterans Square for a 10 o'clock in the morning to an 8 p.m.
Mayor, that plan has been discussed and adjusted a little bit, and you can.
Okay, so you can bring that up when we get to it. The next is for us to approve Saturday free parking on Saturdays at the request of the chamber from, I forget the dates. It's from the Saturday right after Black Friday until December 23rd.
Yeah.
Next is to approve the street fair requests for the chamber in Acada, which we also had a workshop on. The next is for us to approve the submission of a grant for a TAP project in the village. The next is to pass a resolution to approve the submission of our unpaid tax re-levy to Rockland County. And our next one is for us to consider the declaring of an emergency, housing emergency, and opting into the Emergency Tenant Protection Act. And I believe that's our last one.
Yeah.
Any comments on any of those items? Yes.
Hi, my name is Elena Elena.
Hi, lady.
I am part of the process for an event on November 14th, which I discussed with Andy. And I just wanted to mention that there's a few changes that we already discussed last week. That the event we would like to have with the Congregation of Israel and also bottom line, we would like to have it on November 16th.
Oh, okay.
And it won't be a whole day, it will be 6:30 to about 2 hours. So
Okay.
we would need to have maybe 2 hours prior to that set up and then to clean up after. And as we discussed, we would have to have the parking lot behind the gazebo and then the gazebo itself. So I just wanted to reiterate the change.
Okay, thank you very much. And
Is there
we'll,
anything else that I needed to say? This is my first time at a meeting.
nope,
so I-
that's perfect. Thank you for the
Thank you.
explanation. Thank you very much.
We can do that.
We can do that when we get to it. Any other comments on any of the items? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Joe Carlin, 47 Second Avenue. Couple of questions, regarding the, resolution on the unpaid taxes to Rockland County for re-levy. I went through the, amounts of, the previous year, and I was kind of shocked to see there is one, business owner who's operating under a number of LLCs that are in arrears to the village of over $100,000. And I checked, and apparently it's been the same situation since 2018. On a yearly basis. Basically, those go to Rockland County, and they're the ones who reimburse the village, and then they go after those business owners.
They go after the foreclosures and stuff, yeah.
The question that I have is, this specific business owner keeps on purchasing properties, keeps on expanding, keeps on doing work, keeps on requiring permits from the the ZBA or the planning board. Is there any mechanism in the village, any type of law, local law, that unless a business owner is current, which is arrears?
The answer is no, I think, but.
Let Joe finish, but I think.
I'm just curious.
Finish the question. I think we know what it is.
Yeah,
The question is, if a property owner is in property tax arrears to the village of Nyack, can the village of Nyack withhold, like building permits, for example, or the ability to go before the land use boards, seek land use board approvals? The answer is no. That would not be a basis to,
Is that something that's worthwhile considering? Because it seems to me that somebody who is taking advantage of the village.
It certainly may be worthwhile considering, but without going deep into legal research, my educated guess, and it's more than a guess, is that would not be constitutional. I know it sounds silly, but one has nothing to do with the other.
Okay, it's for me, it's a learning process, so that's something that maybe we should look into. Okay, I'll look into it just to confirm what my educated guess is. I'll confirm that.
Okay, our previous village attorney told us the same thing. So.
No, consider confirmed.
Okay. And unfortunately, it's not something that can be taken into consideration.
Okay. Okay. Regarding the ETPA, the last meeting, I understood there was going to be a proposal made by the attorney representing a group of landlords, that they would be coming up with a counter proposal. Has anything happened with that?
We've met with them twice. They've made a proposal. If you see in the resolution itself, it actually has a space. If we get to a resolution that everybody's happy with, where we can put it right into the ETPA. Okay. It's right in the resolution.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, let's start moving through them. I need a motion and a second to accept the audited voucher summary.
So, yep.
Donna and Marie, any questions of Jen? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried. The next resolution is to make the permanent recent adjustments to the river space parking lot. I need a motion and a second.
Motion. Second.
Same, we got Pascal and Marie. Any questions on that? We went over it, I think. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. The next resolution is for the special event, which Leah has given us the changes for. Let's vote on that. What the changes that she requested. I need a motion in a second.
Sorry, do we have a crystal clear?
Yes, Andy's got it clear.
Okay.
Sorry, I missed that.
You've got Leah's the proposal from the.
100%, yeah.
Yep, okay. Good.
So moved.
Oh, sorry.
Second.
From Marie and Pascal. Any questions, clarifications, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. The next is, I didn't say this one for the menorah. I thought we had already, no, we didn't. We said yes, but we didn't do the resolution. This is for us to approve, the special permit application to place the menorah in Hezekiah Easter Square. Need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Motion from Donna, second from Marie. Any questions? We do this every year. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. The next is for us to approve the chamber request for a free holiday parking for Saturdays.
Just amended, it should say will take place in the RDP lot.
That's right.
Not all meters throughout the
Got
village.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Right. I'm just correcting the text here.
For the previous one.
Yeah, for the previous resolution, we always do it just for the parking lots.
Yep.
This is this resolution.
No,
I thought, wait, what are you talking about?
He's saying that resolution be for Article.
The one for the
only.
free holiday parking.
Okay.
Oh, that's the one we're talking
The
about.
wording should specify it's for the village parking lots and not for the on-street parking.
Mhm.
That's always been the practice,
RDP lot.
right?
Right.
Always been the practice.
Right.
And as I understand, it does not apply to river space there.
Oh, it doesn't.
The board can decide, but I'm just going off of what I understand was.
Is anybody here from the chamber?
Roger's still.
Tristan, Roger.
It's hard to hear back here. What's
The discussion is, for the holiday parking, the Saturday free parking. We've normally done it, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but for the RDP and River Space parking lot.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so that's the way you want it this year as well.
Yes.
Okay. So it would be for both parking lots. Okay. Right? All in favor? Opposed?
I'm opposed.
You're opposed.
We have no discussion.
Okay, sorry, discussion. I'm sorry, I called for a vote. I'm moving too fast.
Yeah, so we have lots
Sorry.
of answers. I'm just gonna say, the reason I don't approve it is not because I don't wanna give people opportunity to shop in the village for the holidays. I think it's very important that people shop, and I hope you all shop local.
When you buy your holiday gifts this year. But I find this is just confusing people when we do this. It's some lots, it's not the streets. All that it does is create situations where people, they come in, they complain because they parked on the street and they thought it was free parking on Saturday, but it's not on the street, it's only on the lot, but it's not on every lot, it's just on some lots. And quite honestly, I was out there Saturday and Sunday this week, both days from 1 to 4, offering to take people to Orangetown Town Hall to vote. So I was there and I had to park my minivan in a way that I could access it if people came and took advantage of the ride to the vote polling station. There was lots of opportunity to park the minivan on Saturday, and every spot was taken on Sunday. And the difference between Saturday and Sunday is that Sunday parking is free and people put in the spaces and they don't move. I know people would love free parking, but the problem is that if the parking is free, there are no spots. And so I would rather encourage very strongly for merchants and businesses to find a way to validate, give people a $3 discount if they parked in the village to shop and do that, rather than take up all the spaces that people are just gonna park there. And it's not the shoppers that park there, it's the people that are working it's the people who work there, it's the people who live in the apartments. And quite honestly, of course, they take advantage. If the parking is free, they're gonna do it. People can park all day Sunday and for free. I just don't think we should confuse things by creating exceptions to the parking rule. We saw what happened when we did the free parking in the River Space lot. It was chaos for a few weeks. We've settled that down. The thing that makes people mad is when they're confused about the rules and they get confused, what's the free 15? Oh, it's only on I can't remember. Is it on the streets of the lots? It's on one, not the other. I don't even remember it. You can only do it from the kiosk. I know that's true. So I would be against it, not because I'm a Grinch and I don't want people to shop. I really do want them to shop. I just think it confuses people and it's not ultimately good for the business. It's one of these things that sounds good, but I don't think it's actually good. So I would vote against it. If you all want to vote for it, that's fine. I'm not going to die on that hill.
Anybody have, are we ready to vote on this?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Nay.
Nay. A big nay.
We're gonna have proper signage though, up so that people would
Right.
know that that
It
is.
is, Joe's makes a good point. It is
Yeah, I
tough to
know.
manage and.
Right, but you know,
It's a
may I just
tradition.
make one comment?
Yes, and then we're gonna
Okay.
move on.
For years, we have had problems with employees, owners of businesses and the like, parking in parking spaces in front of or adjacent to their business. And we have tried time and time again to ask them and their employees to park elsewhere. It's an ongoing situation. Joe makes a valid point, but it isn't just, it's people taking advantage of it, and I don't know what we do with it, but it's been a problem for years.
Look, our parking study told us very clearly that what we just passed is probably not the best for circulation of parking. That's why we don't do it on the streets. We only do it in the parking lots. We've reached a compromise on it. So let's move Are we ready to move on? Okay, next is for us to approve the dates for the chamber and Acada's street fairs.
So moved. Second.
Donna and Pascal, any discussion?
Do we want to repeat, we have to reiterate the workshop? Should we summarize the workshop?
I don't,
For the record?
Well, we can. It's, I mean, everything was on record.
We usually, when we do a workshop, we bring it into the meeting, right?
Okay.
We do that. All right, I'll give one 30-second summary.
So what the chamber and Acada and Visit Nyack agreed to do we received a letter that was raised some issues about the number of street fairs and the impact it was having on our local businesses. We asked for those folks who had the issue and the chamber and Acada to meet with them. They did, they talked about it, and we're on a track to get us through to a resolution. Our position as the board has been for the businesses to get together and decide what they want and need, and then to come to us, and then we'll decide whether we can actually pull it off or not. So that was what the workshop was about. We had about a 45-minute workshop, and Joe's absolutely correct. I'm trying to move the meeting along, and apologies to people for me not being as clear as maybe I should be. I have, just so you know, I have 5 friends that are getting inducted into the Nyack High School Hall of Fame at the Seaport. And if I can get there before 10 o'clock, which I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, I'll actually be able to see them and celebrate that with them. So these are guys that I've known for 53 years. So, because that's when I graduated from high school. And I would like to be down there to celebrate with them a little bit. So that's why I'm trying to rush things through and move things along. So forgive me for being driving things. Yes.
I don't think Dominic thinks you're rushing things.
Dominic doesn't.
I don't think he thinks you're rushing things.
Well, all right, so, that's what I just asked, is there discussion?
No.
I'm just gonna reiterate my point that I made at the workshop, that I think that the organizers of the street fair should seriously consider not charging or more heavily discounting existing businesses, bricks and mortar businesses that are on the parade, on the street fair route. With that said, I move to approve the resolution.
All in favor?
Second.
No, we already had a motion in a second, sorry, before the discussion.
Discussion.
That's all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. He's been keeping a short leash on me tonight, I'll tell you.
Yeah, you know, I'm
It's
feeling
good.
this.
You gotta do it. Next resolution is for us to approve the submission of a grant for some more sidewalk and pedestrian safety improvements in the downtown.
So moved. Second.
Andy, you want to give us a quick overview?
It's quite simply a grant for sidewalks that.
Where?
The focus of it would be more or less between Broadway and Piermont Road with access to the park and the marina and those sort of side streets around there.
Great. Much needed. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next resolution is for us to re-levy the taxes with Rockland County. I need a motion in a second. Donna and Joe. Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We are now at the point of looking at declaring the housing emergency and passing the Emergency Tenant Protection Act. I need a motion.
Second.
Motion from Donna, second from Pascal. Any discussion?
Can I read into enter into the records or report I did?
Yep.
All right. I want to share with, I shared with the board earlier, I'll share with the people here today. As most of you know, my background is in real estate. I was a real estate broker for over 20 years. In that time, my company represented probably 20,000 tenants, probably about the same number of landlords in real estate transactions. I've worked with many tenants and many landlords over the years. There are good ones and there are bad ones, and the bad ones create bad situations for everybody. But what I wanted to do was actually get some analysis of what's actually the data. Taylor talked about the data earlier, so I did some data analysis. If you want to see the analysis yourself, if you have a mobile device, if you go, I can give you the overview. You go to rand.me/data. rand.me/ETPA. You can see it. If you go to rand.me/ETPA slides, you'll see just the graphs and the overview, and you can see what the data showed. What I was trying to do is I was trying to see what has happened over the last 5 years with rents, because the anecdotal impression is that rents have gone up dramatically over the last 5 years. And in fact, what I found was that in Nyack, since 2019, the average rental price has gone up 32.7% from 1990 to 2640. The median rental price, which eliminates outliers, Taylor, the median eliminates the outliers. That's the point of the median, takes the midpoint of all the rents, went from 1850 to 2435. And the average price per square foot, which is the price what their average price per square foot does is, I didn't separate out 1-bedrooms and studios and 3-bedrooms, but the average price per square foot measures how expensive the units are based on the square footage that's listed in the listing. So it to some extent controls for the size of the unit. And the average price per square foot was up 39.5%, almost 40%. It went from $21.5 per square foot in 2019 to $30 a square foot in 2023 so far this year, as of October 30th. And just FYI, Nyack makes up, in 2019, Nyack made up 15% of the rentals that processed through MLS in 2019. I should clarify that all the data comes from the local multiple listing system. Not all rentals are put through the multiple listing system. There are exceptions for a lot of small landlords don't put them in because they rent them privately. And a lot of big developments don't use the MLS because they have staffs that they rent it directly to tenants. They don't use the MLS. But the MLS is a fair approximation. And you're not looking at the absolute numbers, but the change in the numbers. It's a fair way to do that. But in the MLS, Nyack in 2019 made up 15% of the rentals rented in Rockland County. In 2023, so far this year, we've made up 21%. Demand in Nyack is very high. Supply in Nyack is not very high, and is limited by the fact that we are 1 square mile and about a quarter of that is underwater in the Hudson. And in my mind, when I did the analysis, I was really trying to keep an open mind about things and about when you're going to call it, if you're going to call a rent emergency, you should have a sense of what's actually going on. And in my mind, when you've got those kind of numbers, it does suggest that there is a market under stress that does need relief. I will say is one other piece I didn't put on this yet, is that the amount that properties are discounted. A property's put up for rent for $1,000, it rents for $900. That's a 10% discount off the asking price. Right now in Nyack, so far this year, rentals have rented for 3% above the asking price, 103% of the asking price, which means that for rentals, there are multiple offers, there are bidding wars, there are dynamics that are driving the price up over the asking price. I do not like rent control. I will stipulate I am a landlord and I don't own any residential buildings in Rockland. I'm not a residential landlord. I'm a commercial landlord in Rockland, but not a residential. So I don't have residential holdings, but I don't like rent control. I think it's has a market distorting effect, but I think that if there is a circumstance under which it is necessary, is a circumstance like this. And I don't look upon it as a permanent feature. You've heard reference to the fact that we've talked to landlords about trying to do something that would allow them to not be subject to ETPA if they've fulfilled certain obligations and they agreed to certain parameters. We'll have more to talk about that later, but I think right now my vote would be in favor of the ETPA because I really do think that it's a problem that is backed up not just by the anecdotal evidence that we've had over the last year, people come to these meetings, but it's backed up by the actual data. And I've looked at that data for 20 years, and this is not normal. That's my
Yes.
Is there a motion, a second, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
If there's a consensus, if the mover and the person who seconded the motion agree to make that a finding to insert into the resolution or just a reference to it? Doesn't have to be in writing, just, you
Who's
would
the
just
motion?
declare that as a
Me.
amended motion to incorporate trustee Rand's summary of his, would you call it an analysis?
Analysis of the.
Yes.
The summary of trustee Rand's analysis of rental analysis in the Village of Nyack as a finding to support the resolution. I would recommend that.
Okay,
And
We could do that.
this will be made, like, this to get posted on the website.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can see it right now.
Okay.
you can see it right now.
Okay,
All right,
so do we
so
have to go through and say?
Well, you just say, whoever made the motion, say,
say I agree.
I amend
I
my motion
my motion to include Jerry.
trustee Rand's, residential rental analysis in the Village of Nyack, the summary that he just orally gave as your finding that you'd like to add to your motion. You could just say so amended
So amended.
as recited by legal
As
counsel.
decided by legal counsel.
And
Dennis Michaels.
second.
So amended as recited by legal counsel.
Does anybody else have any comments?
I do.
Yes.
I just, first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out, both sides, on this. This has been an ongoing, issue for over a year. We've looked at it, we understand, you know, the landlord's part, and I know that, I just want to mention that Warren Hills just keeps coming up, obviously.
No, wait, no. that's not-
I can't say that.
No, but they're not the ones that keep coming up.
No, I'm saying that good things, they're saying,
good
they're
things.
using them as an
Okay, okay.
example
All right.
as
you're going the other way.
landlords that have been, you know, listening to, working along with their tenants. Unfortunately, that has not been the same, process across the board with other landlords, that we've been dealing with. Another thing that really hit home is that, you know, tenants, people work really hard. This is a great village. I understand that everybody wants to live here. I feel very fortunate that I'm able to live here as well. But I really feel like, you know, we have to look at the increases that's been going on. It hasn't been in favor of, you know, salaries or cost of living. And, you know, we really, you know, I'm hoping that we will be able to continue having a conversation with the landlords regarding this. But I am saying this evening that I am in favor of EPTA. And that's all I have to say.
So like Don and everyone said, I do want to thank everyone for coming. Excuse me, I'm a little raspy. Your comments are essential and really important and to this process, and I'm really glad that so many people came out to say their piece. Just a little bit about, you know, my experience, like some people in this room, I've been born and raised in Nyack. I went from Nyack Hospital, went down the street, I really haven't left. For better or for worse. But, you know, I really do love this community. And when the opportunity came for my family to also invest in Nyack, they did, by also being landlords. So the one landlord who unfortunately, I think she had to go, but to talk about you don't have staff, you're right, you don't. I was the staff. I have cleaned up after, you know, tenants didn't work out and things weren't the way they should have been. I have, you know, painted, I have scraped floors, cleaned bathrooms and kitchens and, you know, tried to make places that were habitable for people in Nyack. Sometimes they worked out, sometimes they didn't, but, you know, that's the contribution that I've tried to do to this community and will continue to do no matter what. To all of those landlords who do that investment, you guys are the gold standard. I want that to be recognized. Unfortunately, there are people who aren't that good and they need to get boosted up to your level. A high tide raises all ships. So I've also been here as a tenant. It took me a year to find a place to live in Nyack. I hope to stay as long as I can, but I don't know if I will. And it's unfortunate because the rent is going up and wages aren't, and I can't really continue to afford to live here. I'm in the same situation as teachers, nurses, shop owners, people who do contribute to this community, just like our landlords do as well. So I want that to be recognized that we do need to take a balanced approach. And I do want to bring up that as the state, because I also do work for, I do work for the state.
we don't have many tools that we can use to make things better. And this is one of those tools, whether it is a fun instrument or not, it's something that we have right now. But that doesn't mean that this community can't try to make something better. As we can see in every meeting that a lot of you have been to, we always try to work it out with everyone in this community because we care and we love this place. So I want it to be recognized that this is not the end of this discussion. We will keep talking to our landlords and we will keep talking to our tenants. And we should keep talking about this because this is not the end of this road. There are always ways that we can figure out, we can get creative about making housing more affordable here. And I also want to say this, Nyack cannot be the only place in this county that's doing affordable housing. We have Orangetown, Clarkstown, there's 5 towns and multiple villages within them. This can't be the only place, like, it's very clear people want to live here because we're trying to do the right thing. That needs to also go beyond just this area. We're only a square mile. So I think we should all consider that as part of this discussion to move things beyond just this area because it needs to. We can't hold the burden for the entire county. So I will be voting in favor of this, but I do want it to be known that this is not the end of this discussion and we do need to continue to talk about this. We do need to find creative ways to make housing more affordable. So, yeah.
Basically, we have looked at this and discussed it, at least for a year. We do know that as humans, you need to balance a situation, but you also have some that just think it's obligation and right to do as they see fit and set aside anything that is a real, as was said, that we need to protect everybody and do what's fair and what's right. And I think right now, something needs to be in place to be the vehicle to start real intensive discussions and movements and the like, because protection needs to be had for all, and we need a vehicle, and I think this is it.
Yeah.
I think it was when, I'm not sure if Pascal was on the board or if it was just after she joined the board, we started talking about this even before anybody came to a meeting asking us. And the reason why we looked at it was exactly the issues that Foster brought up, where we're losing part of our community. And as we need to make sure that we're looking after our community in ways that we can. And it is a tough instrument. And I would welcome any landlord that wants to come and talk to us about the initiatives that we're exploring with some of the folks that are landlords that are part of the ETPA building structure. Because we'd be happy to talk to you about affordable housing and about making our community more affordable and working on tenant groups and things like that. We'd be happy to do that as a village board. Of course, you won't be doing it with me, but we'd be happy to do it anyway.
Still talk to you.
Yeah, you can still talk to me, yeah.
Refer them to you.
But it's something that that has really been, for me, it's a passion for our community that led me to this. And I looked at every opportunity, everything that we could possibly do to help manage rent increases in our village. This was the only opportunity that we have. As a village, we cannot implement our own laws. We can add on to the ETPA and do different things, but we cannot pass our own rent control law as a village. It's not allowed. So this is the way that we get to work with everyone and sort of make it part of who we are as a community. We're not trying to take away profits from landlords. We're trying to make our community a better place to live. So join us in that. If you're not included in the ETPA and you'd still like to be included in talking with us about how we can build more affordable and better community, we're happy to talk. So I'm going to vote for this. I've been in favor of it and wanted to hear what everybody had to say before I made a final decision. But I just think that I think we're ready to vote and to implement this. And we're also ready to continue the discussion with the landlords that we've been having. I don't want them to think that by us passing this, that we're cutting those off. If you read the resolution, you'll see that there is an opportunity for us to continue those discussions within the resolution that we're passing tonight. So with that, I will call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right.
I'm gonna jump over a bunch of stuff and let Dominic come and present what he wants to present. Yeah, we're gonna jump over everything else.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Sorry.
No worries. Just glad I heard it all.
I sent this around to you earlier this week. This is Dominic's,
Okay,
request.
I have one.
As eloquent as Dominic is, I communicated to Don and I'll introduce myself on Dominic's request, and I'll take this opportunity to get a drink.
Bring me back one.
Are you sure you don't want to hear about the cell tower proposal? No, nobody? You're all in?
If you wouldn't mind, we're gonna continue the meeting, so if you could take your private conversations out into the hallway or downstairs. So that we can give everybody else, so that we can give everybody else an opportunity to present.
We're still here.
You
Okay,
don't have to leave. Go ahead.
all right, thank you. So I'm bringing a couple of points up to your attention. One, which is quite simple. I need to extend my building permit. And I don't want to pay the fee. Flat out. It's 15% of $24,000. And due to no fault of my own, it's longer than a year. Largely due to Orange and Rockland taking 7 months to power my building. So between December and July, I've spent the whole time trying to get Orange and Rockland to come down to the site and vet out how to handle it. Met with them multiple times, and every time it started from square one. So I lost 7 months of powering the building, not to mention trying to find components to the building post COVID, particularly electrical equipment, meter bays, meter banks were a year out. So I don't really want to pay that extension. I don't think I should. I also don't think the fee is justified. And if you look at the surrounding towns, first of all, Nyack's building permit calculation is not as per what was calculated for my permit fee. The website uses construction costs, and the permit fee is based on something else. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't make any sense. So we were told it was based on square footage. We were told it was based on renovated space versus new space, and it's not clear. So it seems like it's double. If it was based on construction cost, the permit would be $12,000. Compare that to Village of Nyack, Upper Nyack, it would be $7,000. Compare that to the town of Orangetown, it'd be $12,000. And I'm paying $24,000, and then the extension is $3,600. The building's gonna be done by the end of this year. And I hope to have tenants occupying by the beginning of the year. But I don't think it's justified that I should pay this number. And that's why I'm here. Manny told me I have to come here and talk to you about it.
The confusion over how it was calculated, I'm certainly willing to look back at that.
All right, I'm just making a point. It's an egregious amount compared to other towns, first of all, but that's not even what I'm contesting. I'm contesting, I don't want to pay the extension for whatever it is. An extension that should be, in other towns, it's $100, it's $200. This is 15%. It's like, even New York City is 20%, but the amount of money would be far less in permit fees. So I think it's egregious, and it shouldn't be automatic. The town is not doing more work because my construction is going longer than a year. There's no additional inspections, there's no more review of paperwork. It's just a fee. What is the town doing in addition that they wouldn't be doing
And what more are they doing because the project went by 6 months longer?
Andy, do you have an answer to that? Is that something that we should ask?
My feeling is that he's raising a policy issue. And he's asking for an individual waiver as well. We can research the policy issue. And I don't know the details of how renewals are administered or how much labor time they take internally. Or how our rates compare to the other municipalities that he's talking about. It's certainly worth looking into. I worry about waivers as I feel like the board has to be able to justify a waiver based on something other than the fact that he's a gentleman and a upstanding member of the community, and we don't want him to have to pay extra money, you know.
Well, what are you using the fee for? What's the fee?
To not raise taxes.
No. Don't tell me that is the sole
But
way
that's it.
to generate.
These fees are all built around a structure.
You have so many tools.
We don't charge people by the hour.
No, and that's what's offensive, right? Because that's what it feels like. And that's what I don't like. You have many tools to raise money for administrative and operation. Just to raise, so to bring up permit fees and just to charge that 15%. Manny even wrote to you and said, oh, there's a lot of work to process the permits.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Right. Tell me what it is. That's an addition to
All right,
what
we'll find out.
normally would be done.
But I think it's a fair point to say that these things are all built, it's built into a schedule of fees. Hold on.
Yeah.
And by the way, let me make full disclosure. Tom and I are good friends.
Yes,
We
no,
know
that's
each
why-
other
that's
very well.
why-
Even though- That's why we're fighting so much.
Yes.
But Phyllis, we don't have any business dealings or
Yeah,
anything
no,
like that.
no, of course
That makes me have to recuse.
Of course not. Look, that's not the point.
No, but I want to make clear,
You want-
I
You deserve to hear it from me.
I think it's a fair point. My point is just that whenever people come and say, well, what is the money for? It's like, it's all built into a tapestry, and that's, and I think the larger point is that make one exception, you gotta make exceptions for others. I hear your pain, because I think it's a fair point that it's not for a full year, it's only for a few months. And it's because you had difficulties that were not of your control in getting the building. You have an equitable case. The problem is that a lot of people have equitable cases, and if we start making exceptions, then we're up here with people every week coming to us.
Fine.
That's all the point I wanna make. Can I make a motion that we table this so we can have further discussions with it and get more information?
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm not done. I got another.
Yeah, one more.
I got another point.
I said I'm gonna talk more.
Yeah, okay, fine. Remember, so all I'm saying is, yes, I'm someone who's put a lot of investment into the town. So on that investment that builds, that brings in other professionals, that brings in other people to move here, it feels offensive to be charged this kind of money in comparison to other towns, right? Okay, so having said that, now, and I pay that because I have to move my project forward, and I don't have time to debate it. In addition to that, let's just talk about one other thing. I paid $5,000 for a subdivision fee. I paid a $5,000 fee for a subdivision. I didn't do a subdivision. I did a union of 2 lots. Now, granted, the verbiage will cover and justifies, will say, yeah, okay, technically, what I did by merging the lots falls under this verbiage. However, that is not the intent of that verbiage. All right, and the $5,000 that was paid, again, goes towards nothing. There was no engineering review. There was no document archival process that is meaningful in any way. It was a $5,000 punitive, here you go, you want your job, pay that. Now, I get it. You guys done a lot. You've done a lot with getting rid of the parking for development, and I'm all for that stuff. So I get the trade-off, but it doesn't seem equitable. And so that's why I'm here to complain about it. All right. The third point that I'm here to talk about.
You said you had 2. You didn't have.
Well, it goes back to my meeting with you.
I'm gonna, hold on. Let's
Okay.
talk about this. So we don't need to have a conversation in a meeting.
Okay.
Then we'll table it and we'll have a conversation. We'll get some documentation from you. The issue in front of us is simply your request for a waiver. Which
And that's
we're
the
tabling.
issue. That's
If you
the
have
issue.
other issues, I would suggest that in the interest of it being.
Yeah, and Donna wanted to
9:45,
go.
You sat
I get
here, you
it.
sat here for a long
It's
time,
okay.
so I want to make sure you heard out. But we will give you the opportunity to suppress this and look at it, and we'll look at every single part of this in addition to the one
I
that you
invite
actually
you
made the
to come
resolution.
back to my office. I have another 5, 6 points I want to go over, but we can do it at a later time. Okay?
We'll talk about, we'll get the
Okay.
details out. Okay.
One of the things that we should look at is there was a COVID extension. And if some of the stuff that he had to wait for was because of supply chain issues.
Everything.
We may, let me finish.
He's trying to help you.
I'm actually trying to help you and you're arguing with me. Just stop, please.
All right, okay.
But let's just, that's something I think we should look at because we did give extensions to other people. And had to go through the planning board, not to us, but let's look at, see if that's a possible way.
Motion on the table?
Motion to table. Well, we actually don't have a resolution. It was just a discussion.
Oh, I thought it was a resolution.
No resolution.
I'm
No
sorry.
resolution.
Do you want me to come back? I'll come back. No.
Correspondence.
All right.
Part of correspondence, we were in resolution, that's fine.
No, I actually broke through
I know, we
everything and
skipped
had
through
it.
it. Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you.
We got to.
I lost track. Here I am.
To number 7.
So we're at our reports.
Yeah, I don't think you actually called for public comment. did you?
I thought I did.
Maybe you did. Okay,
Yeah, I did. I called for public comment on any item.
okay,
Yeah, no, again,
Yeah,
in the
we did.
beginning.
sorry.
We'll do it again, but we did. I did do that.
party with you?
I'm not gonna make it. I'm
No, he's
leaving
gonna
it.
be, well, let's roll through this.
Yeah.
Administrative report, 30 seconds or less, what's going on?
A lot of good stuff.
A lot of good stuff. The attorney's raising more money. Andy's doing a lot of good stuff. No, I want to make sure that you get a chance to, you guys get a chance to report, because we're only here every 2 weeks.
Very excited about completed sidewalk projects, Depew Avenue and Main Street. And right in front of Paws on Main, across from Wells Fargo, the sidewalk was a total mess and we saved the tree and built a new sidewalk there, which is exquisite. You should take a walk over there. So things like that, our little staff is feeling good about getting ready for winter, picked up all the park lists
Yeah,
for the
I know that.
restaurants,
Yeah.
getting ready for snow, doing the leaf pickup. Everybody's busy.
Yeah, the, in front of the river space, we've been working on that for over a year. With trying to find money to do that. So thank you for
Yeah,
you and
thank
the
you
staff
for supporting
for
that. Yeah.
trying, finally getting that too through.
When are Christmas lights going up? I don't know.
Is it after Thanksgiving?
It has to be after Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, okay, thank you, that's all.
Dennis, you don't have anything, right?
I have a little tidbit, but I mercifully, I'll say.
Okay, we'll need an executive session, so I need a motion and a second for an executive session on personnel and litigation. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Where are we? Work session on street fair, we already did that. Joe made me do that last time. We did the parking authority, made me do that one.
Yeah.
Sidewalk construction fees, I think that probably should that go to our planner to ask him about that, or should we just move that forward?
The board talked about it a little bit. Manny, has reviewed the matter and the question for the board, I think is, I mean, I'm happy to talk with Bob about it too. Is whether you want to see a resolution, eliminating the per foot fee for sidewalk construction permits to help kind of facilitate the improvements we want.
I think we're all for that, so let's move it forward however way.
Because remember, it came up with Alex Rista had, we got a bill for like $3,000. And we did look into, remember we asked Manny to look how many people have actually paid it. We can make it retroactive to January 1 of this year. There's only one person that's paid and they only paid.
There's actually found one more. There's
Okay.
Alex and then 2 others who came in around $300.
Yeah, I think we should show that's good faith that we're trying to get our sidewalks fixed. It's good faith to go back.
So I'll do a resolution for that and for those reimbursements. We also have, here you go, right here. Under new business is the, request for a food truck as a second point of sale. You'll remember the Boxer Donut.
Yep.
This one's different, because the gentleman's up past the throughway there. He doesn't have the density of neighbors.
I'm Alicio Rivera, and owner of the small place Taco Boys. And
One of your big fans is in the back. He always is walking by my house.
I love the hill. I go, we say hi there.
He's always walking by my house with it. I can smell them as he walks by.
Thank you. I just want, I asked Manny, the business partner, I want to put my food truck. I mean, we try to do painting nice and everything looks nice. And this is gonna be in the, inside the property. I mean, it's not gonna be in the street or anything, it's gonna be inside. And we just want to keep open like a little bit late, 12 o'clock maybe. And sometimes, especially in the weekends only. And we just want to sell food, but I can run the business like maybe it's not too busy or something. So I just want to introduce the truck because in the summer we try to participate in the street fairs and private parties or whatever, catering.
So your request is for us to approve you having your food truck outside your establishment open on weekends only?
Yes.
Or is it the whole time?
We try to do, I mean, we
Will you
start
tell us what
weekends.
you're asking, because then, so
Yes.
we know.
We start with the weekends.
Weekends only?
No, you're asking for 7 days a week.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, you're asking for 7 days a week.
It's likely to be used only on the weekends, but he doesn't want to be restricted in that.
Okay, that's fine. That's why I'm trying to just find out what, I'm sorry, I didn't read.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
So,
So we've done that with Boxer Donuts. Has Manny approved this?
Yeah, the only thing is, when we did it with Boxer, the board asked the
To go to
owner
neighbors.
to post it
Yes.
for 2 weeks, to see if anybody opposed it. The whole reason why we're having this discussion is because Manny doesn't actually have a permit for this, so he can't process it
Right.
himself.
I remember.
So it went to the board. So one thing you could do, since he doesn't have the kind of neighborhood issues that Boxer does, you could just say yes, you could say, post it for 2 weeks. If nobody complains, Andy can approve it. Or we could wait until December 14th and put it on for resolution then.
Yeah, I would vote for let's approve it and put
And
something
post
up
it.
for 2 weeks.
yeah,
If we get feedback, negative feedback, then you guys can work on that. But otherwise, just go forward with it. That's what we did with Boxer as well. But the other issue is how you have to get that approved by the health department as well. right?
Absolutely, yeah. We can.
And how will you operate it? Will you operate it out of the power out of the building, or are you gonna run a generator?
No, I mean, in the restaurant, I can,
Yeah, because that was one of the requests we made of Boxer, because we didn't want, we didn't,
Right,
and
absolutely.
also just the emissions are not good. for
Absolutely,
that,
yeah.
so-
No, when it's in the place, the Taco Bell's place.
Right.
So it's gonna be by electricity.
Okay, so as long as Manning's good with it, we're good with it, a resolution to approve, the placement of the food truck at Taco Boys up on 59. Give us the address.
27 or 23?
21.
21, oh.
21, right.
Be open 7 days a week during business hours. Posted for 2 weeks, subject to approval from the village administrator after that 2 week period. Okay? I need a motion and I'll move it. I need a second. Everybody wants to second it, then they talk. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for waiting. Yeah. Free tacos. Free tacos. Okay, so we are now, at communication. What do we have here, Andy, with the communication from the? Well, let's do the ones that are easy. So we have a notification of a cannabis application for 10 North Broadway. That's just for our information. And the second one that's easy is that the Rockland Commission on Human Rights will be opening a satellite office here on the 5th of December at 10 o'clock. So if you want to come, I think the county executive's coming, but I know Commissioner Chimboy will be here as well, so we can come. If you get a chance to come and say hello, that would be nice. So Andy, the Tillman Tower.
This is a proposal by a cell tower company to build a tower on village property, which happens to be the water tank up above the Oak Hill Cemetery. Obviously the cell companies are always looking for improvements in service for all the different devices that we run around with these days. If the village board is interested in negotiating a lease with them, we can undertake that. If you're not, you have no obligation to do anything.
So we could negotiate a lease similar to what we did with the water department.
Right.
Property.
We wouldn't just take whatever terms they think are good.
What do you think, folks? We want to go through with that?
Just bear in mind that this is on top of a hill,
Yeah,
not
it's
down in a swamp.
Yeah.
Okay, so 140-foot towers will look pretty impressive
Yeah. Oh, wow. Cause it's gonna be
up there on the hill.
Yeah.
Compared to down here.
When I heard about this, I said, you just need to put those little fir tree things out there. Everybody knows. How did that tree grow so fast?
Let's have the conversation, but
We could have them,
thrilled about it.
we could engage them. I mean, I'm happy to let, Jen and I talk about this, we never want to leave money on the table, like if we could get some money for the village. But I think the board really would need.
We need to think about this.
Look at it, because the visibility of that tower is different from down in West Nyack.
Right.
Where we were working on.
Or do you know if it's there's already I don't, it's late, but there's already a water tank there. Are you sure they're not just proposing antennas? Okay, so they are proposing an actual tower on top of the tower?
Right, no. It's
Top
tower
on top of the.
It's on the water tank there.
Yeah, why can't they just put it on top?
I'll ask them.
Yeah.
All right, let's have the conversation. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah. Have the conversation, come back. All right, we are,
Doesn't mean we're doing it.
we'll now open up to any public comment on any item. And if anybody stands up, we'll probably. Okay, I would, any comments from the board?
Oh.
No, you didn't.
All right.
No comments from the board.
right.
Need a motion to move into exec session
So made.
and, all in favor?
Aye.
And we would also like to invite Joe and Natalie to join the exec session so that you can get your feet either wet or dirty, depending on how you look at it at this point. So. We're gonna move into exec session. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all
Thanks for being
coming.
patient with us. We had to make sure we did it the right way. Thank you.
That was what we all the time, just the, making sure we're judging.
We didn't want anybody to be able to.
I gotta find a spot. I gotta find a spot.
Say for volunteer firefighter.
Yeah, it's.
Listen, I hope you're all right. How's it going for you when you see me?